have been in a tailspin down the gut of the season. Glad to have you with us. Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, part of Capital One Bowl Mania, the final game of our quadruple header on ESPN. Since it is the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, we left the light on for you.
So stay up late.
Good to be with Reese Davis, Joey Galloway, David Pollitt, Molly McGrath joins us in just a little bit. Really, any bowl game is a question of motivation. Which team really wants to participate? Which team wants to finish their season on a high note? You can ask questions for both of these teams for sure, but Baylor's been a little bit different, David, with the entire off-the-field scandal surrounding them. Jim Grobe's final game, Matt Rule coming in. What do you expect to see from Baylor?
It's hard to predict because 6-0 and then 0-6. So they ended on a bad slide. I'll say this, though, for them. West Virginia game, they competed. And if we see that team, they competed their last game out, then with something to prove, this will be a really good game to watch, and you could see some serious fireworks.
Matt Rule stepped into a broken situation. We know that. We can judge talent. We can judge if you can run or you can jump. You can see those things. You can't judge attitude. It'll be interesting to see when he gets in, can he change the attitude of the guys on this team to finish this way? You know there's a nasty taste in their mouth. How quickly can he turn it around?
Well, Jim Grobe finishes up. Matt Rule, by the way, will join us during our telecast tonight. Boise State also could be viewed as a team lacking motivation. They had expectations of winning the Mountain West, making a New Year's Six Bowl. They did neither. But one thing you will see tonight is perhaps the most underrated running back in all of college football in Jeremy McNichols.
Yeah, and he decided to leave early, and it's understandable. He's carried the ball over 500 times in the last 2 seasons. He scored 44 touchdowns for Boise State. That's a lot of wear and tear on a running back's body. You always talk about the longevity of a running back. How many hits can they take? It's understandable that he's given Boise State everything he has, time to move on.
Everything he has and participating tonight. Great to see.
That has been a bit of a question. They have a retractable roof here. Parachuters bringing it in. We'll kick it off, close the roof, and kick it off when you come back to Phoenix. To kick off in the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, Boise State and Baylor. Baylor won the toss, elected to receive. Boise State in the white, lining up, getting set to kick it away. Tyler Rassa, the kicker for the Broncos, and the deep men for Baylor, Tony Nicholson, number 13, one of the return men, along with Graylin Arnold, a freshman who they worked some during bowl practice as a kick returner. He is a speedster, and get an opportunity to see him tonight. Baylor, as you probably are aware, on a 6-game losing streak after starting the season 6-0 at one point this year, ranked as high as number 8 in the AP poll. Rassa puts a foot to it, and we're underway in Phoenix. It is Nicholson. Nicholson looking for a little seam, and he gets across the 20-yard line, and that is where Baylor will put it into play. Our PlayStation View player spotlight is Baylor quarterback Zach Smith, the freshman making his 4th start. He took over after Seth Russell was injured in the Oklahoma game. Smith has thrown for a little better than 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. What they're looking for him tonight is make the decisions a little quicker, and perhaps having the time off from the end of the season after being thrown into the fire after Russell's injury will benefit him. He's a talented guy, threw for a lot of yards in high school. Those of you watching on ESPN News, we've just got things started. The Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. Baylor opted to receive the opening kickoff, and Terrence Williams just ran from the first play from scrimmage, picked up about 3 yards, and Williams will have it again. And Williams has a good gain up close to first down territory, and he in fact got it. Williams starting at running back as he has. The Bears tonight without Shock Linwood, the all-time leading rusher in Baylor history, who opted not to play in this game, though Shock has been in the doghouse for a good portion of the season. A spin move and still on his feet after the completed pass from Smith is Chris Platt, and he gets into Boise territory.
If I'm Baylor, I want to see how long I can stay patient. Take the short stuff. Boise likes off coverage. Take the hitches, take the hooks, stay there, and get some completions for your young quarterback.
Direct snap to Williams.
Did you see that?
Williams picks up 1. Reese Davis, Joey Galloway, David Pollock, Molly McGrath with you from Phoenix tonight.
That's what happens when you have time off. You see Zach Smith, he's at tailback, and they fake it to him and keep it, but Baylor playing super fast like we're accustomed to early.
Smith throwing to the outside. Here's the first catch of the night from K.D. Cannon. Cannon came into the game needing 11 yards to have a 1,000-yard rushing season.
Receiving, yep.
I'm sorry, 1,000-yard receiving season. And he got the 11 right there, so let's put him right at 1,000 for the year. Smith to throw again, this time throwing. He had good coverage on the outside, a little bit of contact there. He's looking for Ismail Zamora.
I was wondering when the first deep ball was coming. Yeah, they hit 2 hitches, 2 hooks, nice easy throws, completions, get some yards after the catch. But you know Baylor's offense, Kendall Browse, is eventually going to go downfield regardless of what coverage you play.
Here's Jim Grove, the acting head coach at Baylor. This is his final game. Matt Rule's going to take over after this game, being hired from Temple, as Smith throws back shoulder and throws out of bounds.
And that
didn't take long, Joey.
No, he's warming up. He opened up the deep ball package.
And I wish
he had enough of the hitches.
And if I was them, I'd have done it to that side first. But take the hitches to the boundary, then go long. But here it comes again, don't worry.
See the corners playing off, as Joey mentioned, and he finds a wide open safety. And it's an interception for Chancellor James. And that is something that Boise State has been terrible at this season, candidly. Only 8 turnovers forced all year. That is their 9th.
Rich, you can't miss that one. I mean, you don't have to be good at anything, but you can get this interception. It's thrown right to the safety. It has to be a misread between the quarterback and the receiver. A lot of people like to blame the receiver in these situations, but
it's usually their fault.
It's usually the quarterback.
Anyways, Zach Smith, under pressure this year, has been one of the worst quarterbacks in college football. You saw it right there. When he gets people around him, he's prone to make mistakes and rush his decisions. He's a true freshman. You see it there. But Reese is right. 9 takeaways now in the season, right? As opposed to 34 a year ago?
At 31, I believe. They've been over 30. They've never had, in a 16-year span, fewer than 22 prior to this year, and that was just their 9th. Brett Rippon going to throw out of his own end zone, and he overshoots Cedric Wilson. It'll be 2nd down and 10. There is Brett Rippon, our PlayStation View player spotlight. 2 times he's been first team All Mountain West Conference, and then in his first 2 seasons at Boise State, got off to a little bit of a slow start, but played better, particularly in the middle of the season. A little bit of a struggle in the Broncos' last loss in the regular season against Air Force, a game that ultimately kept them out of the Mountain West Championship game.
Offside, 44, the defense causing the offensive to react. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
And Rippon puts up PlayStation numbers sometimes. And you talk about Baylor taking deep shots, you're going to see the same from Rippon. It's going to be run the football, play action shots deep down the field. That's why this game should be a lot of fun to watch.
The name familiar, his uncle Mark Rippon of the world champion Washington Redskins and former Washington State quarterback. Most of Brett's family went to Wazoo, and he didn't do him any favors by beating him, as Jeremy McNichols gets his first carry of the night, and he's knocked rear end over tea kettle in his final college game.
And if I'm Baylor, I'm stacking the line of scrimmage. I'm going to make sure that McNichols can't get off in this game. Rippon has struggled the last 2 games. And so I'm going to make him be the guy that has to beat us tonight. I'm stacking the box and make him throw the ball.
Problem is, they got some playmakers that can make big plays down the field. So if you do that, it's risk reward.
Boise's been good on 3rd down, but they're not going to make this one. They went with the draw to McNichols, and he's hit for a loss. And the Baylor defense playing energized to begin with. Greg Roberts in the backfield to make the stop.
Greg shows you a little bit of power rushing the passer. You know it's a passing situation. On the left side of the screen, you'll see him coming in. Great job. Defensive end, inside of 3 technique, getting up the field, making a play. 2 defensive stops. I don't think we thought we were going to get a lot of those consecutive.
Not this early.
Now punting, about to step on your own out of the end zone here as a punter. You got to be careful.
Sean Whale, an excellent punter for Boise State. Boise State has had some issues in special teams. Whale did have one blocked against Air Force. It was a big play in that game. And this one, we got it out of there, but Baylor's going to have excellent field position right around the 40-yard line. In fact, they're stepping inside, and they'll give it to them at the 38, a 36-yard punt and no return. After the turnover, the Bears have it back. Perhaps none the worse for the wear. So there is Kendall Briles, the offensive coordinator for Baylor. He's on his way to Florida Atlantic to join Lane Kiffin's staff as the offensive coordinator there. Of course, Kendall's father, Art, was a longtime coach at Baylor and removed from his duties amidst all of the off-the-field issues that the Bears have had to deal with over the last year or so once they came to light.
Interesting, Lane Kiffin and his offensive background, to see that's who he goes for his offensive coordinator. I thought it was pretty interesting. He's seen obviously a lot of systems from the Pac-12 to the SEC all over the place.
Smith, first throw after the interceptions, complete. Short gain out to the left side. KD Cannon with the catch.
Joey, he said, let's get back to getting short.
No, seriously,
let's get back to getting short.
Can you stay there and drive the field? It was working early in the first drive. You with the length of the field, you got down here and you start going deep. Stay where you are. Stay patient.
Patience on the ground from Terrence Williams, who spins into the pile and picks up maybe 1 or so. Operative word of the night for Joseph Scott Galloway is patience.
Yeah, but have you ever known Baylor to be patient? I mean, they're as
that's
fast.
Not how they roll.
No, they're as fast as they can, and that's the problem. You have to dial it back when you have a true freshman quarterback that's going through some growing pains.
All receivers, all backs to the right side of the formation. And just as I say that, we flop the tight end to the other side and move the H-back fullback with him as well and keep it on the ground, and they made the right adjustment as Terrence Williams gets close to the first down marker.
Tecklenburg goes at 270, and they moved him to the other side. You can go ahead and call him another tackle. They moved another tackle to the other side to decide to run the ball.
You know who's going to love him? Is Matt Rule. He's one of the best blocking tight ends in college football. You watch him physical. He just slammed somebody right there on that last play.
Well, he was just short of the first down was Williams, and the flag flies. They were going to go for it on 4th down.
Let's keep talking about Tecklenburg because that was him again.
Before the snap, false start, radiated the offense.
Yep.
5-yard penalty, look out.
So now let's see what Jim Grove decides to do. It didn't took Jim less than 5 minutes to get riled up. Nearly 79 yards per game in penalties. That is the most in the nation.
Well, you compound that with turnovers, and that's how you go on a 6-game losing streak to end your season.
I mentioned Boise State's difficulty in forcing turnovers. Both of these teams, in terms of turnover margin, are among the 20 worst in the country. They're -7 on the year. So on 4th down and 6, they need to get it to the 28. Baylor's still going to go for it, and
hold on.
Yeah, hold on. Maybe.
Baylor takes its first time out of the half.
So Baylor takes its first timeout. Waited just short of 5 minutes to go and still scoreless here in Phoenix. That 4th down marker does not mean a thing to Baylor. This will be the 45th time this season that they've gone for it on 4th down. That is the most in the nation. This time it's coming right after a false start penalty. They turn the Bears 4th and 1 to 4th and 6. Baylor had it once, had a nice drive going. Zach Smith threw an interception. Let's see if he can pick up the 6 and keep this drive alive. Fumbled the snap, picks it up, fires to the outside, and then they fumbled the snap, then they dropped the ball, and the Broncos, with a big assist from an unforced error, get the stop.
And that's not an uncommon sight. You've seen a lot of drops this season from Katie Kent. Makes a lot of big plays. Explosive after the catch, but these is one right here. You got to catch the football, Joey. Sometimes you turn your head up. Dude, it's 4th down and 6. You're past the sticks. Catch the ball. Worry about running later.
Yeah, you couldn't see him turn it in that play. Sometimes the ball gets through. That's a play they have to have in this situation. You can see the corner slip. When you put a football field in a baseball stadium at times, the grass is not settled. We've seen a couple guys slip so far tonight.
Well, the slip lets Boise State turn the field position around a little bit. They intercepted a pass inside their own 5 and were backed up the first time they had the ball when they went 3 and out. Jeremy McNichols, who needs 161 yards on the night to set the Boise State single-season rushing record.
Reese, what did that slip have to do with catching the football from Joey there? He's
making excuses for receivers already.
I was actually looking at the corner slip that time, and I've seen a few guys slip. That's something to pay attention to as we move forward.
So it had nothing to do with the receiver dropping the ball.
No, he should have caught that.
Okay.
Should have caught it. He knows that.
Okay.
Sometimes a little condensation gets to work on these fields. And Thomas, the normally reliable Thomas Spurbeck, well, you won't see that very often. Spurbeck had one hit him right between the 8 and the 2 and didn't catch it.
That's uncommon.
And now that starts to bring up, now you've seen Cannon, seen Spurbeck, and wonder about the lighting. Are they losing the thing, or just a little amped up early?
The different depth perception in a baseball arena when you bring stands in. There's a number of things that make a ball look different as they're coming at a receiver.
Rippon fires a shot. He ripped it right into Cedric Wilson. That was a sweet throw, and Cedric didn't drop it. The backdrop I understand, but you look at the configuration they've done here at Chase Field, Joey, it doesn't look that much different from a regular football stadium. They've done a nice job adding the bleachers and giving the fans a good vantage point.
Reese, I'm trying to make excuses for the receivers.
And I'm not cooperating.
Yeah, you're not helping.
McNichols gets it inside the 40, and now Boise State's going to give Baylor a little of its own medicine with some tempo as you take a look at the configuration.
Are we at home plate right now? We're about at home plate right there, Reese?
I think it runs down to the 3rd baseline. Rippon, as that one deflected, he was going for Spurbeck over the middle again, and Greg Roberts, who had a stop in the backfield in the previous drive, gets a mid up to knock down Brett Rippon's pass. So 3rd down and 6 now facing the Broncos. Rippon right back to Cedric Wilson. Now Wilson has 2 big catches on this drive. He was working on the freshman Braylon Arnold, and Boise State gets the 1st down.
And you mentioned Rippon. And there's a lot of Boise quarterbacks in the past several years that we've talked about that we give a lot of respect to. There hasn't been one as talented as Rippon. This guy has an elite arm. You see elite arm strength. You can see some of these throws that it's throws that are next level throws that anybody or that Sunday guys are making consistently.
You're going to see a lot of formations and shifting from Boise State and a lot of tight ends. They have 2 of them in the game now. They're throwing to one of them right down the middle. But Rippon underthrew that one and had it intercepted by the Bears. 2nd interception of the night, and that was Trayvon Blanchard dropping and making a tremendous grab. Rippon had an opportunity, had Jake Rowe put a little more air under that, and he might have had a score.
Yeah, and he's going to be kicking himself when he looks at this, when he gets to the sideline, sees it on film. Had a receiver open down the middle, just lead him a little bit. Dave, you talked about the big arm. At times, as a quarterback, when you have a big arm, you try to grease the ball in there. Throw it up, let your receiver go get it. You can see there's space. Rowe was behind the defense. Just lob it up and let him go get it.
And he's a sophomore, and he's still learning. Right there, though, is a perfect example. Clean pocket, you got all day in the world. Yeah, you don't have to show off the big arm. Throw a little bit of touch and put that in the back of the end zone where your receiver can catch it or the DB doesn't intercept it.
No, it's also not lose sight of the fact that was a tremendous catch.
That was a nice
so
catch.
much for the lighting and the backdrops and all of that kind of stuff.
DBs aren't having problems catching the football, Reese.
Nickelback did okay. We had 2 DB catches already tonight, Joey. So Zach Smith goes back to work, and now he's taking a shot deep. And this time, K.D. Cannon catches it and hangs on. Now Baylor's going to go with a little tempo. And if people can take care of the ball, we're going back and forth down the field. Had a couple of turnovers already in the first half of the first quarter. Pick up a 49 on that strike from Smith to Cannon. Smith back to work. Up to the top and just out of the reach of his intended receiver. That was Ishmael Zamora out there.
And Zach Smith's a true freshman, so he's going to make true freshman mistakes, but he also throws a pretty deep ball at a time, shows you some really good touch. But watch this deep ball. Great job setting his feet. That's on the line. You talk about Rippon wanting to put more air underneath it. That's a 40-yard BB right to the receiver.
Looking left again and firing into traffic, but rifling it into Chris Platt. Platt with another catch, his second of the evening, and it's another first down for the Bears. He'll be at the 15 of the Broncos.
I like to switch up. They go deep against Horton 2 times, and then they throw the one underneath. And I'm Horton, I'm staying back. I would let them catch 100 of those balls because you know eventually they're going to go deep at you, and that's the ball you have to make a play on.
100?
Yep. 100 times before I come up.
The art of communicating through hyperbole. 3 receivers to the right, a lone receiver to the left side. That's where they're throwing. That ball was deflected as it came out of Smith's hand. He's second down and 10. Blake Whitlock got a hand on it for Boise.
And that's one thing we talk about. You're talking about corners and sitting back, Joey, off receivers. Well, D-linemen have to understand that too. The ball's coming out quick. Get your hands up quick.
Smith dumps it out to Williams in the flat. There's a flag that came down as Williams gets inside the 15. We'll see what the flag is. And we'd like to thank those of you for joining us who've been watching
the 10-yard penalty, second down.
The Holiday Bowl. You joined us just in time for a penalty against Baylor. First half of the first quarter for Jim Grobe's Bears against Boise State has been one filled with mistakes. Each team has committed a turnover that stopped a promising-looking drive. Reese Davis, David Pollock, Joey Galloway, and Molly McGrath, glad to have you with us at the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. Baylor trying to stop a 6-game losing streak. Boise State, another 10-win season, but the Broncos did not win the Mountain West, and they're hoping to finish their season on a high note. So after the penalty, it's 2nd and 20. Freshman quarterback Zach Smith for the Bears. He is hauled down and slammed down by Sam McCaskill.
Sam McCaskill's a fun player to watch. They're one of those dudes that always flying around, giving a great effort. Pressure. He's got 25% of their pressures this season. I mean, he's the main guy up front that has to get pressure tonight on the quarterback.
When Seth Russell went down, the ability to run the ball as a quarterback is missing now from the Baylor offense. And you can see Zach Smith not as good at taking off and running the football.
Zach Smith, the freshman, as we have movement along the line, is making his 4th start after Russell was injured.
12 start, number 55 of the offense. It's a 5-yard penalty, third down.
We called that on the center, Kyle Fuller. He's making his 39th start. Veteran guy and a leader up front for the Bears. Fuller playing his last game, a senior from Wiley, Texas. So 3rd and 25. Let's see what Kendall Briles, the offensive coordinator, has in the playbook for 3rd and 25. Smith to the outside, going over the top. That'll work. Touchdown, KD Cannon.
This was exactly what you want from a corner standpoint. You bail out of there. You can watch the cornerback number 2. He's running out of there as fast as he can. He's got the deep side of the field. Look at him stop and not see where the ball goes. And KD Cannon just leap up and make a heck of a play.
And here's the second question. KD Cannon, 3rd and 20. Why is he by himself with a corner? Bring the safety over. If there's one guy you want to watch in that situation, it's going to be KD Cannon. Make him beat you with someone else.
I mean, Moxie's in a perfect position. You just got to make the play.
Yeah.
Either way you cut it, Moxie's 5'10".
Like KD Cannon ain't 6'10".
Well, he looked like it on that play.
Cannon,
he did the way he got up.
Cannon needed 11 yards receiving to have a 1,000-yard season. He almost has 100 in the first quarter and a spectacular touchdown catch as the Bears strike first. Welcome back to the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl as part of Capital One Bowl Mania. Chase Field here in Phoenix. Reese Davis, Joey Galloway, David Pollock, and Molly McGrath. Glad to have you with us. 4 games on ESPN today, just a plethora of college football. Baylor just struck first with a touchdown pass to K.D. Cannon. And guys, given all that Baylor's been through with the problems handling the sexual assault, both proven and allegations that led to the end of the Art Briles era, Jim Grove this year, 6-game losing streak, you wondered about the Bears' motivation. So far, they've come out to play.
So far, so good. And it started with the West Virginia game. I mean, the last game of the season, you saw them. They competed at a high level. They gave everything they had. Right now, the offense is looking good. You can tell, too, Zach having that extra time to get ready and prepare and keep working on the playbook. He has a better grasp, making better decisions. Had the one mistake, but looks pretty good for Baylor so far.
We know Baylor's talented. Matt Rule steps into a situation where he's going to have to change the attitude. He's going to have to change the culture at Baylor University. How quickly can he do that? And how quickly can he turn these kids' attitudes around? They look good tonight. Now they have to continue to build on it.
Culture from the Pepper Hamilton report, one of the things that came under scrutiny and much criticism for Baylor, and one of the things that Matt Rule will have to address, a flag on the play for kicking the ball out of bounds, as we say hello to Molly McGrath.
Well, Reese, Jeremy McNichols announcing that he'll forego his senior season and enter the NFL draft, and McNichols told his coaches and teammates about this after the final game of the regular season, and they're fully supportive of his decision. And McNichols stressed that he never even considered missing this game, calling that selfish and looking at this as an opportunity to be there for his teammates, but a very different situation for Baylor. Shock Linwood sits out to prepare for his NFL career, and quarterback Zach Smith telling me he found out the news on Twitter, and the team is both surprised and disappointed by this decision, Reese.
And Molly, Shock Linwood had several problems during the course of the season. He got into an altercation with a graduate assistant, spent some time on the bench for attitude issues, as the freshman Alexander Madison gives McNichols a break. And McNichols has yet to garner positive yardage tonight. Baylor's been locked in on him. Madison is the next in the line of Boise State running backs that the Broncos have very high hopes for. He's had a really good season spelling McNichols, and he'll be the one expected to carry the load next year as Rippon throws it underneath to Thomas Spurbeck. Taylor Young, who's already had a couple of big hits tonight on the stop.
But it seems like Boise's got it figured out, though, doesn't it, Reese?
It does.
They find. You think about Doug Martin, the muscle hamster years ago, and then Jay Ajayi. That's his name right now, Reese. He changed it once he went to the league.
It's funny. Some in the league say Jay Ajayi. People around Boise will still add a little E at the end of it. But you know
I'm
who
going
you're
with
talking
Ajayi
about.
because I cover college football, and I call it then. And then, obviously, with what McNichols has done, starting to build a little factory here at Boise State at running backs.
Well, McNichols came into this game needing 161 yards to set the single-season record for a Boise State running back. He came in with better than 1,600 yards, also a dangerous receiver. Jeremy McNichols, this is only his second full season as a running back. He came in as more of a slash player, so he's still learning the position.
But he's had a lot of carries. He's had 500 carries in his past 2 seasons. He's had 60 more carries this season he's had last season. That's a lot of wear and tear on a running back's body. It's understandable that he'd want to get out of college now.
Spurbeck, that's it, into Baylor territory across the 50-yard line. You know, this is 30 years since Boise State started playing on the blue turf, and they had an all-blue turf team for the greatest players during that era, and the only current Bronco on that team just made that catch, Thomas Spurbeck.
Think about that. They've had some receivers, too, here.
Bet they have. Back to the ground, and there is Madison as he dives across the 45. It'll be third down coming up. Braylon Arnold making the stop for the Bears. How about the impact players tonight? Speaking of Spurbeck.
He's a beast. I mean, really does a great job. They move him around. You'll see him out at wide receiver. You'll see him in the slot. Runs great routes. Catches contested balls. Uses his big frame. He's one of the best playmakers on this team. You'll see him a lot.
And since we are in a bowl in Arizona, don't be surprised to see Spurbeck throw the ball at some point tonight. This season, he is 3 for 3 passing with 3 touchdowns. It's McNichols with his best run of the night.
Former high school quarterback, right?
Yeah, and so was Cedric Wilson. And a lot of guys who'll pitch it around.
They like that. They get those athletic quarterbacks and turn them into different positions and then use them for trick plays, which, you know, Boise's one of the best in the country.
Honestly, bowl game or not, we would be very disappointed to not see a trick play out of Boise State at some point in time, and we need to see one soon, Reese.
How about right here?
This
I think right here you're going to see it. Let's go.
Well, they told us they wanted to verify what they see on tape first. Direct snap to McNichols as he goes inside the 35. We started our coverage tonight on ESPN News. For those of you who are watching the Holiday Bowl and just joining us, the Boise State quarterback is Brett Rippon. There he is. Rippon, a sophomore from Spokane, Washington. He's played 2 seasons and been all Mountain West first team both years. Threw for better than 3,300 yards, 23 touchdowns this year. Made some good throws tonight. We've also seen him throw an interception as he dumps it out to McNichols quickly. And there is another thing that McNichols does well, and I don't know where he'll be drafted, and he has announced this is his final game at Boise State, foregoing his last year of eligibility, but he can do a lot of things. Brian Harsin telling us he's the best pass protector that they've had at the running back
Well, think about that. Best pass protector, but came to college as a wide receiver. So he's also a complete back from receiving the ball in the backfield. Perfect 3-down back for an NFL-type system.
Rippon to Spurbeck. Spurbeck
dropped the ball.
Dropped it. Was that a fumble or catch? No, they're waving it off. They're saying it's an incomplete pass. So Spurbeck now, for as good a hands as he has, he's dropped a couple tonight.
He really has, and you don't expect a receiver he's played a long time, and it feels like Spurbeck has been here longer than he probably has, and this is a play he needs to make. It's a 3rd down play. We've seen KD Cannon drop one on 4th down. Now Spurbeck on 3rd down. These are plays that your big play receiver has to make to keep your offense on the field.
That was a good play by Stewart there, too.
He
actually dislodged it. That wasn't necessarily a drop.
Yeah,
that was a good defensive play.
As a receiver, we don't count good defensive plays. Now, you jumped on the receivers early. I'm on
that was
it.
A clear drop.
That's a ball that we would like to catch.
Let's see what happens on 4th down. Rippon needs 3. Brett's got enough room to run for it. He does. He dives across the 25. 1st down, Boise State.
And this is one thing I think is he continues to go along. His pocket presence and feel will get better with experience. This is something he doesn't do great. He's not a great runner, but doing a great job of seeing. This is 4th down. Sliding head first. There is no slide. You got to get the 1st down. Great play, great job. He needs to keep working on that feel and knowing when to do that.
Back to McNichols. Lowers those pads and gets down to about the 21. Arnold again on the stop. He's had a busy night. Taylor Young, number 1, also in there for Baylor. And
Young's he's a Coke can, man. That dude's like 5'8", 250. Little dump truck linebacker.
You know, to your point about a guy like Rippon running, even if you don't have the true dual threat quarterback, a guy who picks you up couple 1st downs a game just by moving out of the pocket like that can be really dangerous and beneficial. Good play in the open field on Cedric Wilson, and making that stop is Ryan Reed.
You talk about Rippon in the pocket. Baylor's not going to do a lot of exotic blitzes. You know, and they just rushed 3 on the last 3rd and 5. And if you're only going to bring 3 and you give Rippon a chance to stand in the pocket and survey the field, then all of a sudden that breakdown with 3 guys, you know there's going to be a lane somewhere to take off and get those 5 or 6 yards when you need to.
Final 25 seconds of the 1st quarter. 3rd down. Rippon needs 7. Well, half roll to the left. He throws it out. He's got the completion. He's got the 1st down. And hitting out there is Jake Rowe from Scottsdale, Arizona. The Broncos practiced at Jake's old high school this week at Chaparral High School. When he got there, they had a sign welcoming him. Didn't get to use his old locker, though, because they made him dress in the JV locker room.
Get back in the JV locker room.
So Boise State on the move, threatening to tie it up. The only score of the 1st quarter, a spectacular grab over the top from KD Cannon. A KD TD is the score.
The Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, brought to you by Motel 6. We'll leave the light on for you. And the Capital One Venture Card. Earn unlimited double miles on every purchase every day. What's in your wallet?
Taking a ride in with the parachuters who came in to Chase Field. Now the roof is closed. Fortunately, they left it open long enough for the parachute team to get in. And we start the second quarter. Baylor with a 7-0 lead on Boise State, with the Broncos threatening as we take a look at tonight's keys to the game, brought to you by Franklin American Mortgage.
And it's for Boise, it's just do what they do, especially offensively. It's run the football. They don't forget about McNichols, but also play action pass, take deep shots down the field.
We've already seen Baylor take advantage of going deep. They had a 49-yard pass on their touchdown drive to K.D. Cannon, and then hit a strike on 3rd and 25. McNichols with a quick cut, breaks one tackle. Rippon can't help him, and Jeremy's going to lose a ton as he gets knocked out of bounds. Orion Stewart was there first.
Rippon chose not to help him. show that replay. That Rippon, he goes in there and he says, you know what, Joey? I'll pass.
At some point in time, Boise's going to have to get McNichols started. He's been a bit of a struggle early in this game, but to help Rippon out, who's now is warmed up and throwing the ball very well, they're going to need to run the ball better.
And a Mountain West coach tell me this week that Boise State thinks the best thing they do is throw it to the outside, but they'll continue to try to establish the run. He said this in a complimentary way, that Ryan Harsin can be pretty stubborn about that. Boise State wants to run the ball, as Rippon, after the overthrows, looking at 3rd and goal. This drive has lasted a while. They've been able to keep Baylor's offense off the field and avoid the tempo. As Brian Harsin back at his alma mater, 2-0 in bowls, including a Fiesta Bowl win a couple years ago over Arizona. 16th play coming on this drive. 3rd and goal, and 16th play from the 16-yard line. They'll throw it to Rowe, and Rowe is knocked down inside the 10, and one would assume that the Broncos will settle for a field goal, and Rippon is headed to the sideline, though he appears to be walking slowly as if he'd rather not do that. And here comes a field goal unit after
Too bad
all.
he didn't have a say. Players don't have a say in that.
It was what my old friend Lou Holtz used to say. He told players, it's up to you on 3rd down. Don't complain about my 4th down decision if you didn't get it done on 3rd.
And you can see the difference in thinking. Baylor with a 3rd and 20 in the red zone. They throw it up to K.D. Cannon on the outside. Boise State with a similar 3rd and long, they throw the screen.
Here's Tyler Rossa with a 24-yard field goal attempt. And he puts a foot through it, and a little bit shorter uprights than perhaps you're accustomed to seeing. He still puts it right down the gut, and the Broncos are on the board. Baylor will get it back when you come back to the Cactus Bowl. Baylor is playing in its 7th straight bowl. That is a school record. The Bears, this was a program that didn't go to a bowl from 94 to 2010, but won back-to-back Big 12 championships under Art Briles. But in September of 2015, the university hired an independent law firm to investigate the handling cases of alleged sexual violence. By May of this year, Baylor parted ways with Briles, the athletic director Ian McCaw, and the chancellor Ken Starr, who you see there. Despite the problems in bringing in Jim Grove as the acting head coach, the Bears started 6-0, but then lost the last 6 of this season coming into this game. And then earlier this month, Matt Rule was hired away from Temple as the new head coach here at Baylor. And there's Jim Grove, who's in his final game. And Matt Rule is going to join us here in the booth in just a few minutes. And you see Grove, who really came in as a favor to the great Baylor former head coach Grant Taft, who asked him to come down and take over after the Briles fallout.
Impossible situation to come in and take over on.
No question. It is probably the most untenable situation that I've ever seen in college football, and for a while Jim was able to keep it together as Denzel Mims is returning to kickoff for Baylor, and he is stopped inside the 20-yard line, and that's where the Bears will take over, but flags fly with a little extracurricular activity at the end of that kickoff return.
It's one of the first things Matt Rule is going to try to clean up, some of these dumb penalties.
Well, at Temple, a little bit tighter ship so to speak, than perhaps has been customary at Baylor.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Both dead ball, unsportsmanlike fouls. Number 84, the kicking team, and 38, the receiving team. Those fouls will offset. That is their first unsportsmanlike foul for each player. Timeout on the...
Both of these teams playing with a little bit of an edge, both getting a foul and unsportsmanlike. Baylor head coach, the new head coach, Matt Rule, will join us here in Phoenix when you come back to the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. Baylor with a 7-3 lead on Boise State. Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, and pleased to be joined by the new head coach of the Bears, who will take over immediately after this game. Matt Rule did such a terrific job of leading Temple to back-to-back 10-win seasons. Matt, congratulations and thanks for being with us. We just a few moments ago before the commercial break went through all of the challenges and all of the problems that have been evident and Baylor has had to deal with and is still dealing with. Why'd you take the job?
Because I think those kids need a coach, and as I looked at the place, it's a place that has proven they can win. It's a university that has a mission that goes far beyond just academics. They have a commitment to faith. They have a commitment to service. And they hit a hard time. But those kids need a coach, and I felt like maybe my wife and I were the right people to go there at the right time.
What was the biggest drawback when you were coming up with the list and going with your gut feeling about whether it was the right thing to do to take the job?
I think the biggest thing was that we weren't from Texas and we hadn't been there before, and it was something that we were really excited about. There's the best high school football in the country's played there in Texas, and the opportunity to recruit within a couple hours of our home was something we were excited about. But just the unfamiliarity with the region was something that we had to look at. But after that, we said, you know what, this is the right place and the right time.
Zach Smith completing the pass to Zamora to get the first down.
Coach, what's the first thing you do? Reese mentioned you take over starting tomorrow. What is first on your list?
Well, I think it's recruiting. They lost, I think it was 10, 11 kids off of last year's class. So there's a hole there. And there's only one kid committed as we walked in. So there's a real hole in terms of the amount of people. So we wanted to do 2 things. We wanted to get to know these kids on the team, stay out of the way of the team as they got ready for the bowl. But these kids have been through a lot, and we wanted to make sure that they knew that they had a coaching staff that was there to have their back and also start recruiting.
Coach, you mentioned recruiting, and this is something I've always wondered about coaches that change jobs. You've been recruiting kids to Temple, telling them Temple's the greatest place to go on the face of the planet. Now you change jobs. Do you call those same kids and say, now that I think about it, Baylor is the right place to go?
Yeah, you know what? I didn't call anybody that I had recruited to Temple to come to Baylor, okay. And that wasn't because it's different regions. That was as much as anything just an ethical thing, a moral thing for myself. And Temple's a great place. And as I told our kids at Temple, Temple's way more than Matt Rule. I was just a small piece. That was about those kids. That was about those seniors that built that. And so I was a small cog. And all the kids that are coming in afterwards to play for a great coach in Jeff Collins, they'll do a great job. And now we'll try to do the same thing at Baylor.
Well, Porter is called for that holding penalty. That'll back the Bears up 10.
And when you talk about coming to Texas, how do you do that now? Who do you hire that's familiar with Texas? Because we've seen a lot of fits not work in college football, and a lot of times it's not having that connections and proper relationships with high school coaches and et cetera. So how do you forge that gap?
Well, I think the first thing was I talked to a lot of people and said, hey, will I work in Texas? And here's what they told me. They said Texas high school coaches love 2 things. They love their players and they love football. And so, that's what I love. And so they said, if that's what you're all about, if you're gonna, wow.
You'd like to get a little bit of that as KD Cannon. Do you love that, Matt? As KD Cannon Cadillacs into the end zone, and he has his second touchdown of the night.
KD's special now. KD's very special.
You going to keep that play in the playbook?
I'm not changing the thing on that one now.
No, how do you recruit him to stay is the question. There's one of your recruits right there if you can get him to stay.
Yeah, he's a special player now. My goodness.
And Zach Smith, also another guy on your recruiting list in many respects, has already thrown for 227 yards, a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah, he's a great young player. And it's like I told all these guys when I met them. I said, listen, transition is never easy. It's not fair to kids when a new coach comes in. But I just promised them, hey, I'm here to be your coach. Even the kids that are done. I met with their parents today. I said, I'm your coach. It's not that, hey, you're leaving, you're off, your eligibility's up. I'm here to be the Baylor coach. I'm here to take care of you. I'm here to have your back. I'm still going to have the back of the kids at Temple. Once you play for me, you play for me for life. And so, you asked about recruiting. I think that's all the coaches in Texas wanted to hear was that, hey, we're going to open ourselves up to them. And when kids come to play for us, we're going to take care of them.
A 5-play, 81-yard drive finished off with a strike to KD Cannon, and the Bears are up 14-3. Jack Smith just threw his second touchdown pass of the night to KD Cannon. KD, by the way, just trotted down into the dugout and back to the locker room. We'll see what was going on with that when we get word. And Baylor with a 14-3 lead on Boise State. The Broncos are going to have to get things going. One of the things that Baylor's kicking off from the 20, by the way, because of an unnecessary roughness penalty on Blake Blackmar on the point after. So Broncos have an opportunity to get some solid field position. Cedric Wilson in return. He is knocked down at the 34-yard line. We continue to be joined by new Baylor head coach Matt Rule. Matt, I noticed that Jim Grobe said in part of the things that he had talked to you about that he'd spent the last 6 months basically taking all the bullets and everybody's out of ammunition. I'm not sure if that's totally true. There are still some issues to be dealt with regarding the university's handling of some of the sexual assault allegations. But what about what Jim has told you about the culture, the atmosphere there, and some of the challenges you're going to face?
Well, I think Jim Grove is one of the gentleman coaches of our generation. He's a guy that when I was a young coach I looked up to. So as I went through the process, I talked to him, and I think to try to figure out, hey, what's going to happen next and all, no one never knows, right? I mean, I felt really good about the fact that, the worst is behind us. We're moving forward as a university. The NCAA stepped in and, sort of said, hey, we're going to let, Baylor investigate on their own. So I felt great about all that. But Jim told me, hey, this is a great roster, a great place with great people. And so once he told me that, I knew we could build something special here.
And this is going to be Jim's final game as a head coach. He's going back and retiring back to Georgia. And, he and his wife, I think maybe there was some family strife when he decided to jump back in coaching, at least for a little while, just mild, just a little bit. But Jim is certainly one of the great gentlemen in coaching. Penalty on Boise State backed him up and fire out to Sean Modster for the completion. He's up across the first down marker.
Coach, under Browse, we've known Baylor to be big on pass, big offense, not so great on defense. We know you've played linebacker before. What will be different about this team next season and moving forward? What will we see out of this Baylor team?
Well, I hope you see a team that plays really, really hard and plays really physical. I mean, it doesn't, when you see a team that doesn't beat itself, that plays really hard, is really physical, that doesn't require talent. And, eventually we're going to build a team that's dynamic on offense and really, really difficult to defend on defense, to attack on defense. And that's what we did That's what we did at Temple, and that's, as you look around the teams that compete for a national championship, they can play defense and they can run the ball when they need to. And that's, we want to be fun, we want to go fast at times. But when it comes down to the fourth quarter, when it comes down to December, November, we're going to play defense and we're going to be able to run the football when we're running it.
What does that mean in the Big 12 defense when you say play defense? That's a little different than Temple. I mean, how do you play defense? Just watching this league. I mean, nobody plays defense.
Well, there's not a defense right now in the Big 12 that's in the top 50 in defense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at Temple we were number 3, but yeah, you're right, it's not the Big 12. But we just want to get in the top 50 and then, the top 40 and just climb our way up there. But if you want to be a college football team, look at the best right now, and you look at Alabama and their top 5, look at Michigan, they look at Ohio State. They can play defense and they're still exciting on offense. And so, to me, it's about, when you come to Baylor, hey, I want to go try to win the Big 12 championship and win the national championship. And to do that, you better find a way to play defense. That's why I'm bringing our defensive staff.
Phil Snow, the defensive coordinator, will take over. 3rd down and 1. Boise State converts, gets it inside the 45-yard line with McNichols.
Coach, you talk about playing defense, and David mentioned that nobody does that in the Big 12. Is that for recruiting, or is that an attitude change? You're talking about changing the overall makeup of what a team has believed in the past few years from a defensive standpoint, where it's been basically you're going to be on the field a lot simply because the offense is going so fast.
Yeah, I think if you say you want to play defense, you have to limit the possessions of the offense, and that happens in 2 ways, right? On defense, you have to get off on 3rd down, and on offense, you have to control the ball a little bit. So that'll be a little bit of a departure from a philosophical mindset. But at the same time, it's also how you practice. I mean, we're gonna practice really physical, and I've studied the best in coaching. I've studied Pete Carroll when he was at USC. I mean, to those guys, Tuesdays were harder than Saturdays, and that's what we did when I was under Coach Paterno. That's what we did at Temple, and that's what we'll try to do here at Baylor.
Spurback on the catch, and another first down for Boise State. And the Broncos putting together a drive. They get it down to the 32 as Rippon throws one into his senior receiver.
And when you talk about names that you've studied under, and Tom Coughlin's another guy, like who have you taken what from in your coaching background, and really who have you taken the most from?
Well, I've learned from a lot of great coaches. I've been under Steve Adagio, Al Gold, and I went under, obviously, Coach Paterno. But I think my time with Tom Coughlin, it was a short time. But
1 year, right?
Yeah, just 1 year. But I learned so much from him, and I learned. The plan never changed under Coach Coughlin. Like, he didn't get emotional. You didn't change the schedule, didn't change the plan when you won or lost. The plan was the plan, and whether you won or lost, you made adjustments, but you kept moving forward. He had tremendous relationships. He always had a plan, and I think as a result, we were a very consistent team and consistent coaching staff.
After you lose the departing players and the seniors this year, your roster is going to be in the mid-50s. You have about 50, mid-50s, maybe 60 scholarship players going into next year. With that in mind, one of the criticisms that Baylor has faced over the years, non-conference scheduling. What would you like to see Baylor do in the non-conference?
You know what? I think as we progress, you'd like to be able to go out and play some of the top teams in the country. You'd like to be able to take our brand of football and take it on the road. But, I'm excited to go play at Duke and play David Cutcliffe and that staff next year. I think there's and here again, I don't even know where I'm living yet, so I'm learning things as I go. But I think there's
find a house first, man.
I think there's an Ole Miss deal. There's a bunch of things down the road, I think. But I know we play at Duke next year, and I have a lot of respect for Coach Cutcliffe as well as some other local teams. But I think anytime you have a good football team, you want to go play the best.
Coach, a couple years ago, I was covering you guys when you were playing at Penn State. And I come on the field, and I'm looking for you on the field. And I keep seeing this ball boy keep running sprints up and down the field. So I decide I'm going to go ask this ball boy, where's Coach Rule at? I can't find him. I go over, and it's you running sprints. Which coach did you get that from, the sprints before the game?
You know what? I don't work out all week, so I try to make myself feel better right before the game. So I try to make up for the sins of the week, try to get a couple sprints. And you know what? I'll do that till I can't run anymore. It gets a little bit of the nerves out of my system right before we go play.
So how's the sprint looking? Is it falling off considerably, or are we still staying in good shape?
Well, right now it's not very good right now. I've been eating. Let me tell you something. If anybody wants to come to Baylor, we got the best Tex-Mex Mexican barbecue food I've ever had. So give me a month and I'll be ready to run again.
Reese got on me and David for wearing jeans in the booth tonight. And as I look, Coach, Reese, are you okay with this outfit that Coach has on?
He's the coach. You're a professional broadcaster, and you're coming here half dressed.
I don't know how.
Throw from Rippon to Spurbeck. Spurbeck inside the 10 and diving for the pylon. He stopped just short. It'll be first and goal for the Broncos. Trayvon Blanchard with an interception earlier tonight.
Spurbeck hadn't had the best night catching the football. Had several drops, but great job catching
the football. He came from the slot. He came from the slot and ran the outcut.
Running out of bounds,
outside
dude.
Receiver ran him off. And really nice route by Spurbeck. When you watch him play, he's a terrific route runner. And that's why Rippon can always find him. The great route runners make it so much easier for a quarterback to connect with.
Yeah, Spurbeck stepped out of bounds on the 7, but still first and goal for Boise State.
McNichols time.
Fake to McNichols over the middle. Intercepted! Another underthrown ball in the middle of the field. And Orion Stewart, perhaps with a tactical error coming out of the end zone. That's going to hurt the field position, but it does stop another Boise State drive. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Wish you the best of luck. And for the first time in their married life, I believe, Matt and his wife Julie are going to sit in the stands and watch a football game together, right?
We're going to hold hands and have popcorn.
There you go.
Well, bring us some popcorn.
Yeah, bring us some, please.
How about that defense in the Big 12, baby?
Matt, thanks a lot.
The Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, brought to you by Lexus, who wishes you happy holidays, and Taco Bell's $1 double stack tacos.
Boise State away from home for a Christmas party, exchange gift. Cleared by NCAA compliance, by the way, and singing Christmas carols. But
you know I have no problem with that whatsoever.
I do not.
That's
and
outstanding.
Molly McGrath, Boise State still in a benevolent spirit, giving away gifts, a couple of them to Baylor so far.
Yeah, that's right. Orion Stewart saved the ball after that interception, but defensive coordinator Phil Bennett not happy. He just went up to Stewart and said, "Great play there, but you just cost us 25 yards."
He had the interception in the end zone. I think it's 20, but point's still well taken. It's 20, but Phil's point's still well taken. And Stewart wanted to run that thing out, and he got tackled on the 1.
Reese, when you make a play like that in the end zone, save points, you're allowed to do that. If you want to run it out, it's okay.
That's the only way to return 103 yards. That's right. You got to take a shot at it.
Yeah. You'd like him to stay in, but you know what?
It's a bowl game. Take your shot.
Absolutely, and he's a senior, got his 6th interception of the year. Hey, you know what? Give it a whirl. He got a 14-3 lead, and now Zach Smith goes back to work. Smith fires it out quickly, and a little breathing room for the Bears as they get it out across the 10-yard line. That's Pooh Strickland.
They got Boise's head swimming at the cornerback, man. They're hitting him with deep shots left and right. Now, well, we did that interview with Rule. I've also been hitting the quick game left and right.
And run right up the middle to pick up the first down with Terrence Williams. So just like that, Bears, a couple of plays, 15 yards to work with, and a little breathing room. Quick pass out in the flat to KD Cannon, who has returned. Told you a moment ago that after that last touchdown grab that he had, he disappeared down the dugout, but apparently everything's okay.
Baylor could run that same play all the way down the field if they wanted to, but we know better. They're going deep eventually.
That ball's deflected, and Smith, showing the quick reflexes, catches his own deflection and gets positive yardage out of it. McCaskill got a hand on it, but batted it right back to the freshman quarterback.
And what Joey's talking about is look how far the corners are off. I mean, you just look at it right now live. Look at the corners, 10 yards off the receivers every single time. You're not going to make up that cushion.
Before the snap, Boise State takes its first time out of the half. It's a 30-second timeout.
When you try to slow things down a little bit as Baylor has found a rhythm. More from Capital One Bowl Mania coming up tomorrow. New Era Pinstripe Bowl from Yankee Stadium. We go from Chase Field to Yankee Stadium Baseball Park for Pittsburgh and Northwestern. West Virginia and Miami's got a little intense between those two in the Russell Athletic Bowl. That'll kick off at 5:30 Eastern Time. And in the Advocare V100 Texas Bowl, Texas A&M taking on Kansas State. Kansas State's done winning the Bill Snyder way.
Always. And then you got Miami. Reese, Miami hasn't won a bowl game in 10 years.
That's astonishing.
10 years.
So do they break that streak tomorrow?
Nope.
Definitively speaking, I know we've been keeping up with your Capital One Bowl Mania Challenge, Joey.
Getting beat like always.
Who do you have?
Yeah, I like West Virginia tomorrow. I love watching Pitt's offense. I mean, when you get a chance to watch Pitt on the offensive side of the ball and the things they do, the movement, with the tight ends, they're a fun offense to watch.
Well, if you enjoy watching Pitt's offense this year, then you'll enjoy watching LSU's offense next year. And Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, moving from Pittsburgh to join Coach O at LSU.
And that's been an issue for LSU, and one we've talked about for a number of years is their struggles on the offensive side of the ball. Great running back, and Geis coming back. Fournette will be gone. And then Matt Canada come with that offense. How exciting.
This is the moment from Mike Roach, our referee, that Pollock's been waiting for.
Ineligible downfield on the pass on the offense. The penalties decline, 4th down.
How dare him.
No. Baylor do that?
What is wrong with this guy?
Never seen that one before.
Patrick Lawrence.
He's surprised that he called it.
They never call it.
Did they call that?
That's been a running thing with David. I think David likes to refer to the run-pass options, the offensive lineman blocking, running, and throwing a pass. I think he refers to it as cheating.
It is cheating.
And every defensive coordinator agrees with you.
Yeah,
when I was calling games, it always was a discussion is how are you supposed to defend these plays when offensive linemen are blocking downfield?
It's horrible.
Low punt, Cedric Wilson's waving the arm, makes the fair catch, but we have a flag down as the punter got drilled, A.J. Richardson. And he ran into the punter, and Drew Gallett's got
running
hit.
Into the kicker, number 28 of the defense. That 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
The 5-yard penalty, give him the first down as we take a look at this again with Richardson coming in on Gallett's the punter.
I don't think he touched him.
I don't.
And the Academy Award goes to.
Well, I think
That's like soccer.
He might actually have hurt himself, though. Either that or it is the old soccer injury. He kind of rolled the ankle and the plant leg just a little, but it didn't. It wasn't because anybody ran into him. That's a mess.
Yeah, soccer would be proud of that move right there.
Manu Ginobili would be proud of that move.
not a soccer player.
Reese, what about special teams for Boise, though?
Well, I mean, that wasn't an error. I mean, that was a missed call by the officiating crew, but Boise State has had a multitude of special teams miscues this year. They had a punt blocked against Air Force. It was an important play in the game. They've had 3 onside kicks recovered against them. They've had an inordinate number of punts fair caught inside their own 8-yard line. And the list goes on and on. They've given up a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, and they are special teams efficiency among the bottom 7 teams in the country as Baylor picks up a first down to Chris Platt.
Reese, with all the things we review, why can't that be reviewed? I mean, that's a change of possession play. I mean, that's as big as a turnover for a team right there. To leave Baylor on the field, if you're Boise State, you struggle to slow down this Baylor offense. A bad call gives Baylor the football. That should also be something they buzz down from the booth and say, we need to look at it. That's a bad call.
I disagree strongly because the game's already taken 5.5 hours now.
Boise State
could
could care less how long they're here. They earned a stop. We're talking change of possession on those kind of plays.
How many change of possession plays are there in the ball game? You can't buzz down all of them.
No, the ones where you miss a call, yes, you can.
I think it comes down, Joey, what they tried to do with replay is to stay away from judgment calls. And even though that was a miss in my judgment,
yep,
they've tried to stay away from reviewing judgment calls.
Yeah, that's great. Boise State and myself right now would like that to be reviewed.
I'll tell you one thing, Boise State has no answer defensively right now.
They just had an answer. That's my point. They finally got to stop.
Yeah.
And you don't want to give it to them.
Gave it back, and now look at, I mean, they have to play so far off of their corner spots, but now they can't, they're soft in the run. They can't stop the run. I mean, this is.
So you agree? They got the stop. They should be on the sideline right now.
I mean, the kicker sold it. He got the call, man. It's just like PI. You can't do that every single time a third down. Yeah. You can't review a PI every time there's a.
They'll go 4th down, though. That is change of possession.
So now it's 4th downs. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, change of possession.
A lot of traffic in the pocket for Smith. He buys a little time and then throws it to Platt. Platt's inside the 30. And Baylor's mounting another drive. And with Boise State's turnover problems, you get the feeling the Broncos are not too far away from getting themselves in some serious trouble here.
You got a lot of D-linemen with their hands on their hips, too, and all these long drives.
Michael Hasty getting a carry, and Hasty driving it down to the 15-yard line.
And this is why it's not a big deal at all not having Shock Linwood. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't affect this offense the slightest bit. They've got other guys like Hasty and Williams that fill in that do a great job, just as good as Shock Linwood.
And if you're just joining us, Shock Linwood, Baylor's all-time leading rusher, choosing not to play in this game and prepare himself for the NFL draft. Linwood's had other disciplinary problems this year. Hasty has no problem finding running room right through the teeth of that Boise State defense. He stopped just short of the 5, and he got the first down. It'll be 1st and goal.
The D-line for Boise State is giving very little resistance. They've been out on the field for a number of plays now, and this is the part when you go fast, you keep those defensive linemen on the field.
Well, Boise State has been average on defense in terms of yards per game. They've almost given up their entire total, and now they've given up another touchdown to Jermichael Hasty, and Baylor stretches its lead to 20-3 with the extra point pending. How about that? And now they got the benefit of the questionable call on the penalty.
A bad call.
But the result was a 99-yard drive.
Yeah, it was questionable, all right.
Okay, it was bad.
Yeah, give the assist to the punter.
Punters are players too.
Sometimes.
Stop it,
punters
Reese.
and kickers.
Stop. You're just trying to take me off over here.
Chris Callahan, also a player, on for the extra point. And he boots it through.
And the Academy Award goes to
Drew Gallant. A gallant effort by him.
You can still buzz down right now, Reese.
Too late. Capital One Bowl Mania continues Thursday on ESPN, starting 2 o'clock Eastern Time from historic Legion Field in Birmingham, South Florida, taking on South Carolina. Of course, Charlie Strong going to take over next year for the Bulls with Willie Taggart on his way to Oregon. Belk Bowl will be Arkansas and Virginia Tech. That's followed by the Valero Alamo Bowl. That ought to be a good one, Oklahoma State and Colorado at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Capital One Bowl Mania rolls on. Baylor, meanwhile, has scored touchdowns on each of its last 3 possessions, 14 points, coming off a pair of Boise State turnovers. The Broncos come into this game with 14 consecutive senior classes who had 40 victories in their careers. Right now, this senior class is sitting on 39, so Boise State better get to work. Kickoff out of bounds. Good field position for Boise State as we say hello to Adnan Verk.
Free kick out of bounds.
Adnan, he can't keep a secret. I chastised both of them because there is a dearth of broadcasters who are well-dressed in this booth right now. And he went and told America that he's not wearing suit pants. Thankfully, he is wearing pants. Short pickup for Jeremy McNichols, who's had a rough first half. Tyrone Hunt on the stop for Baylor.
I don't know what's wrong with dress jeans. David has on his dress jeans. I got on my dress jeans.
Who?
We all look good.
Who? I don't think so. Go underneath and complete to Chaz Anderson. I would just like to see you complete the wardrobe, complete the ensemble, complete the look.
It's old school versus new school, Reese. It's okay. You prefer the dress shoes that are not comfortable at all?
They're very comfortable. If you get good ones, if you don't,
again, if you're going to pay $1,000 for a pair of shoes, yes. But some of us are not going to do that, Reese.
You don't have to pay $1,000.
Some of us wear our Ultra Boost up here in the booth, okay?
How big is that first down for Boise State's defense? I mean, the offense needs points, but the Boise State defense is so happy that the offense got a first down so they can catch their breath because they're struggling. They're tired right now.
Yeah, first half so far with the last 3 minutes and change going prior to that run from McNichols.
That's a good physical
Baylor,
run right there,
Baylor
too.
has doubled up Boise State in yardage so far in the first half. And, of course, the 2 turnovers that Boise State had, both passes intercepted inside the Baylor 5-yard line. So those are a couple of scoring opportunities that went awry. Another completion to Anderson, and Rippon throws it for the first down. And Boise State's got another drive going, but now the object is to take care of the football and try to get back in the game.
They've struggled. How about we talk about coming into this game, Baylor, and do they have the motivation? This is a heck of a job right here and what they're doing so far. You can tell, playing hard, flying around.
Got it off to Spurback just as he was hit. A pickup of about 3 down to the 30-yard line.
And we talk about the scholarship limitations. Flag.
Now officiating crew from the American Conference tonight.
Boise State's been given its first sideline warning of the game.
But when you talk about the young guys, Reese, or not having a lot of scholarship athletes, they have a lot of guys, Baylor, that has played a lot of football, though. When you look at their offensive line and almost everybody coming back except for their center, you look at skill positions, you look at their defense, they got a ton of guys with a ton of experience that will be coming back for Matt Rule and his company.
There are, but just not a lot of them. I mean, that's I mean, you're getting down to USC at the height of the sanctions numbers when you get down into the mid-50s. But a lot of it depends on how well Matt can recruit and boost some of that depth. The recruiting class last year, many of whom, especially the high-profile players, opted not to come to Baylor after the scandal and the removal of Art Briles. That certainly hurt them for the long term.
But one thing that he did great at Temple was more with less. He took recruiting classes that weren't ranked really high and produced and won a championship there. So you got to believe in Matt Rule's ability to do that.
When you're down in numbers, and every coach will tell you this, it makes it difficult to practice. And Coach Rule talked about being able to make Tuesdays physical in hard practices. When you're down in numbers, don't have a lot of depth, that makes it much more difficult to practice hard.
All right, let's lock in on this drive here. 4th down now coming for Boise State. And Brett Rippon surges ahead. Quarterback sneak successful, unlike on the goal line against Air Force in their last regular season game. This Boise State team, though, even though they lost a couple of games, disappointed not to have won the Mountain West Conference, still just 9 points away from being undefeated. Lost a game by 2 on a late safety against Craig Bull's much improved Wyoming team, and then the 7-point loss to Air Force. Alexander Madison is checked in. Hard count almost gets Baylor to jump. They get back. There's the freshman Madison plowing straight ahead.
And he looks like that next one that's just going to step in and produce like all these Boise backs you've seen in the past too. That same type of build, that same type of mold. He's going to be just the next in line.
And as bad as things feel for Boise, they get the ball back. If they can get points on this drive and the clock is running down, they get the ball back coming out in the second half. They have a chance to change the momentum in this game.
Yeah, Baylor won the toss and elected to receive, so Boise State trying to have the opportunity to go back-to-back with scores. Okay, so Boise State's on this drive now trying to draw closer to Baylor. But Baylor, after the last turnover, put together a great drive as we look back with our Buick drive recap. But the drive was kept alive, perhaps by a little acting job there from the punter. And then Zach Smith buying a little time. Chris Platt, ball was behind him, made a nice grab.
And then mixed in the run.
Jermichael Hasty
started getting physical. Remember that RPOs work best when you can actually run the football, and they got the running game going too. It opens up this whole offense.
You know, you've seen both teams now here in the second quarter start to have success just pounding the middle of a defensive line. Neither defensive line is particularly huge. Madison in motion. Tunnel. Cedric Wilson has a little running room, and he stumbled down to the 10-yard line, but should have enough for the first down.
Such a great play. Looks left first to the back out of the backfield, then throws the tunnel underneath. Now you got to start taking some shots to the end zone with your lack of timeouts.
Yeah, I have one timeout left and see what Smith does. This is the area of the field he's had a little trouble in the first half, and he throws it over the top.
And he had Spurbeck in the back of the end zone early on that play. Just didn't get a chance to get the ball out of his hands on time. And once you don't get out of your hands on time at the goal line, it just becomes more and more difficult because there's just not a lot of room to work with.
Yeah, I think I might have said Smith there, but obviously Brett Rippon, the quarterback for Boise State. Rippon in the first half, thrown it 27 times, completed 17 of them for 148 yards, thrown a couple of picks, as we've mentioned more often than Brett and his family would like to hear, I'm sure.
Spurbeck in the slot right here. He catches a lot of jump balls well.
Going to Wilson, and not much of a chance there. Braylon Arnold among the Baylor defenders in that portion of the end zone. Now 3rd down and 10 with 24 ticks remaining in the first half.
It's going to be tough to throw a fade to the side of the field that Spurbeck is on. David, you point him out in the slot, and you can see Baylor with 3 guys on that side because they had their eyes on Spurbeck on the inside to make sure he didn't get anywhere. An easy play for the safety and the corner to get over to defend the fade.
You know, Boise State has been really good on 3rd down tonight. They've converted 8 out of 12. They could certainly use one here. 24 ticks remaining. Single timeout remaining in the Broncos' pocket. Here's Rippon. Dumps it underneath. McNichols tackled after a short gain just inside the 10. Clock continuing to wind, but Boise quickly calls the timeout. Patrick Levels making the stop. Good open field tackle.
I never understand why you take timeouts.
With 16, though. You let it run and make this the last play of the half. Now you got to kick a field goal and then kick the ball off.
I agree.
So Boise State trying to get something out of this drive. Baylor started a little slowly. They had the interception early and then got stopped on 4th down. But after that, it's been money.
They hit a couple deep balls, and you watch this offense and how energized they get when they have the ability to do this. Go downfield to Cannon, one-on-one. You go up. David said he's not 6'10", but he looked like it on that play.
No doubt. And then you start spreading out of the middle of the field. Now you got the goes working on the outside. You hit the quick game on the outside with the bubbles, and you started running the football in the last drive. So now it's all this pick your poison on this offense. When it's rolling like this, it's not many teams in the country that can stop it.
Well, you know, they got the lift too. That first KD Cannon catch that you saw over the top of Jonathan Moxey came on 3rd and 25. So Tyler Rassa going to try to knock through his second field goal. He made one from 24, this one from 26, and it too is good. So to Joey's point earlier, with 11 seconds remaining in the half, Broncos will have to kick it off. They detailed some of their struggles on special teams. It includes a kickoff return allowed for a touchdown this year. They'll try to get out of here just down by 15, and with the knowledge that they'll get the ball first to start the second half.
The offense has been a little bit out of sync for Boise State tonight. They've had the ability to move the field. When they get to the red zone, it's been a couple turnovers. And when you think about out of that last play, when you call a timeout with 16 seconds left, that speaks to you being out of sync. That speaks to something is amiss right now in this first half with this Boise State offense and struggling to put points on the board. And now you have to go out and kick off again.
11 seconds remaining for Brian Harsin in the first half. It's college football season. You can stream every game live on the ESPN app and on Watch ESPN. Download the app and visit watchespn.com today. The finish of the Holiday Bowl running a little bit late. I'm sure that many people did exactly that to watch the start of our game here in the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. They'll put the squib kick down and it'll be covered up. And Baylor with 9 seconds remaining. Let's see if they're willing to take a shot here. Here's what Boise State did. Went 3 and out with their first possession. Had a good drive working the second time they got it before throwing a pick. A 17-play drive resulted in only a field goal, as did a 15-play drive. But both of those interceptions stopped promising drives for the Broncos.
Critical interceptions, one in the end zone and the other one intercepted on the 10-yard line or inside the 10. So that's the guy right there they got to get going. They haven't ran the football. This is a run the football downhill and then take deep play action shots. They haven't been able to run the football, and it's got them all out of sync. And
honestly, now both interceptions were really good plays by Baylor, but they were also underthrown balls.
Yes.
By Brett Rippon. Zach Smith has now completed 12 of 13. There's that man Cannon again. Boy, Cannon has had himself a tremendous first half. That last one, 11 yards, and now in the first half, KD Cannon has rolled up 8 catches for 182 yards and a couple of touchdowns. And that'll be the final play of the first half. Baylor with a 21-6 lead on Boise State. Molly McGrath will talk with Jim Grove coming up in a little bit, but first we go back to Adnan Virk and Booger McFarland in the studio, guys.
Capital One Bowl Mania.
Welcome back to the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl as part of Capital One Bowl Mania. Just about set for the start of the third quarter here at Chase Field in Phoenix. A first half where the Bears were sicking them. Baylor with a 21-6 lead on Boise State. Broncos are going to get the ball first. Reese Davis, Joey Galloway, David Pollack, and Molly McGrath with you. Glad to have you with us. Fourth of 4 games here on ESPN on this day as we get close to winding down 2016. And boy, KD Cannon absolutely put on a show in the first half for Baylor. And that came up after a bit of a rough start for the Baylor wide receiver.
Yeah, he dropped the fourth down pass right in his hands, and that's a play that he would love to have another chance at, and he got another chance after this play. And this was a key, crucial, early play in the game, and as a receiver, you want the ball back. You want another chance as soon as something like that happens, and he made the most of it, the ability to go downfield.
And he got plenty of other chances, and this one right here, he just absolutely dunks it on 3rd down and 20. 25 makes a big play, and then he goes 8 receptions for $180. Just completely dominates the first half. So KD Cannon, the most explosive, most experienced player on the outside for Baylor, definitely made his freshman quarterback feel very comfortable.
And our PlayStation View player spotlight is, of course, KD Cannon, the junior from Mount Pleasant, Texas. Look at the numbers tonight. David referenced them. 8 catches, 182 yards. The Cactus Bowl record well within his reach. And you know what? He's not too far away from the bowl record. Jason Rivers of Hawaii had 308 yards in the 2006 Hawaii Bowl. against Arizona State.
Well, he's still a good game away from that. I mean, but the numbers.
First half, he has another second half like that, and he'll be right on it.
And when is Boise going to double team him and force Baylor to make another receiver beat you? You know, you got off in the first half. You make adjustments, and you come out in the second half and you try to stop him.
You know, you look at, as we get ready for the second half kickoff here, Boise State ran 50 plays in the first half. They went 8 of 13 on third down, converted a couple of fourth downs. Now, all they have to show for it is 2 field goals. And Cedric Wilson are trying to give them some good field position. And he stumbles across the 20 and stops at the 21 as we check in with Molly.
Well, Reese, Coach Brian Harsin stressed that they need to get their run game going. He said their O-line got into a groove in the second quarter, but he wants to see more of that. And as far as their quarterback, he wants Brett Rippon to finish in the red zone. He needs to limit those turnovers. And as far as that infamous roughing the kicker call, he said that was a really tough call that hurt their momentum a lot, Reese.
Tough call, says Brian Harsin.
It's a good
what
way to
say
put it.
you, Joey Galloway?
Yeah, I say that change of possession calls should be able to be reviewed, Reese. The ball was punted. That's as big as a turnover.
If you missed it, it was the best acting job of the year.
Yeah, bad call is what Joey called. He saw Brett Rippon's numbers not exactly stellar in the first half. And they keep it on the ground, and then Jeremy McNichols getting a little tangled up with Taylor Young. But a good pickup on first down for McNichols. Jeremy playing his last game at Boise State. He's announced that he will opt for the draft. And McNichols has now carried it 16 times for 42 yards.
And that looks horrible, but it's actually getting better. It's improving throughout the game.
He had a couple of big loss plays. And now you see what Boise State wants to do. They want to establish a physical nature, and McNichols is the guy to do it. A couple of carries and a first down for the Broncos.
And Boise actually had the ball for 6 more minutes in the first half than Baylor had the ball. It's just the explosive plays that they gave up to the Baylor offense that made it feel worse. And you mentioned they were good on third downs. They possessed the ball, and toward the end of the first half, they started to run the ball. Come out in the second half, stick with your game plan. You see early, give the ball to McNichols.
And then it lets you take shots with these talented wide receivers they have on the outside.
That's what Brett Rippon's going to do. He throws into double coverage. Wilson ends up on the ground. No flag flies. Braylon Arnold was there. Orion Stewart, who had an interception in the first half, was also there.
And this is what this Boise offense is. I mean, they throw deep as much as anybody in the country, and you can just see they got tangled up a little bit. I'm not.
So?
I'm okay with that, actually.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Surprisingly, I'm okay with that. Your feet get tangled. You're both trying to play the ball. I have no problem with a no call there.
Wasn't that close either in terms of
the ball placement.
catchable. Yeah. That one is right on target, and it's a first down for Boise State.
If he'd have thrown it in the vicinity, you could have seen if he could have made a play. It would have been easier, and he would have got the call. But the ball wasn't even near him.
Spurbeck, who's had a couple of uncharacteristic drops tonight, still caught 6 passes for 60 yards now. Is good start to an opening drive in the second half of the Broncos. They're down 2 touchdowns. Alexander Madison nosing into Baylor territory. He's giving McNichols a break. Now things starting to get a little chippy. Both teams have the reputation for playing with a little bit of an edge, and it served them well in most cases. Baylor perhaps lost a little bit of that during the 6-game losing streak, at least in some of those cases. They're trying to break tonight. They found it in the first half. Boy, they showed a lot of character coming out and playing with that as McNichols slips a tackle, and Jeremy McNichols out of the backfield gets a first down.
And I think this is what makes him really special. He's a complete back. He can block, he can catch, he can run. He really can do it all out of the backfield. That streak's in danger tonight.
That's the longest run in 10 years that McNichols has. Nobody's found the end zone dressed in orange and blue so far.
There you go. More traditional Boise offense there. You've seen some trades and some motions. Now you split McNichols out, who was a wide receiver up at the top. McNichols.
And now Madison's in the game, and he's in line. And here's the double pass. Spurbeck going to pull it down and keep it. Thomas Spurbeck wanted to throw it, and it's it inside the 30 before he's pushed out of bounds. And Spurbeck didn't want to mess up his record
And look
He's
at all,
had 3 passes this year, all have gone for touchdowns.
and look what they do, Reese. I mean, you got 2 shifts and trades and motions, and then you throw it, and then you throw it. It is a good decision, by the way. It wasn't there. Most of the time when you're a receiver and you get the ball, Joey,
I'm throwing it.
you're throwing it because you don't get that
I'm
option.
only
That
going
was
to
a
get
great
one
job.
chance a season. I'm going to throw the ball.
He was a quarterback in high school.
That was a wise decision.
Great decision.
They have not been successful enough on that type of play, the receiver screen, to make the Baylor defense come up. And that's why they were comfortable sitting back.
Quarterback instincts running deep for Spurback, too. His dad, Marshall, was a quarterback at Nevada. Spent a few years as head coach at Sacramento State, so a heady play.
That's what you expect from him.
Yeah. Got the first down. Now pick up of a couple on the run. It's 2nd down and 8 as they get deep into Baylor territory. This is where misfortune has struck for the Broncos tonight. Brett Rippon down the middle, got his man. 1st down and 1st and goal. Jake Rowe, the tight end, playing in front of many of his home folks from Scottsdale, Arizona, makes the catch.
And you can see the rhythm and the mix of plays. Came out in the second half running the ball early. Now they've had some play action pass. They run a trick play. They've gone down the field. You can see the rhythm starting to build for this young quarterback in this offense.
Problem is they're in the red zone again.
Well, Molly was talking about this, Brian Harsin. This is where you got to take care of the ball. And they get nothing on the 1st down run. It'll be 2nd and goal. Might have lost half a yard.
It's a great job by Rippon. Look at him look to his right, survey the field, and then hit his tight end over the middle. But he did it quick. That's great. Great job of surveying the field, making a decision, and letting it rip. Now he's got to do it tighter windows down here.
Yeah, and that's
And
the problem.
well, now he's not going to do anything except go out for a pass. He split wide to the left, direct snap to Wilson. Cedric Wilson. It's inside the 5.
And that's a big play. You're talking about 2nd and goal from the 10, and that's been the issue when they get these long plays in goal, and you have to throw the ball to the end zone, and that's where he's made the interceptions, the bad plays in the red zone. Now this is more manageable. Now it's a 3rd down, and you only need 4 to get in the end zone.
You know what else it tells me? They're going for it on 4th down.
Well, and
if they need to go, they're going. That's 3 down territory.
well, look at the formation right now. Rippon is off the field. McNichols getting the direct snap. McNichols looking for running room, and he'll not find it. Tremendous play again by Orion Stewart. How good has he been defending his goal line tonight?
Knocking folks out, getting interceptions. Look at him come off the edge. I mean, he comes all the way from the backside. Does a great job getting McNichols. And
this is surprising to me.
Would you kick the field goal
I would
here?
absolutely kick the field goal here. I mean, this is early in the second half. I would take the points.
The way my defense has played, I might just go for it. I mean, I hadn't stopped them all night. So.
Well, you did stop them, then a bad call. You had to stay on the field.
Fade. Wilson didn't get it, and another stop for Baylor. How about that defense and the coverage from Ryan Reed?
Now you've had a great drive on offense, a great come out in the second half, and you go home empty-handed because you decided to go for it on 4th down. I disagree.
That's a good throw. You got to make that catch. I mean, that's a great throw. Back of the end zone. Look at this. You got to help your quarterback out, man. You need a play.
Still a lot of time to go here, but how demoralizing is that for the Broncos? Play Peach Bowl and the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. Here to be Clemson and Ohio State. Washington, of course, coached by former Boise State head coach Chris Peterson. And look at what they've done with takeaways this year. And if Alabama's offense has had an Achilles heel, it has been turnovers, particularly fumbles from Jalen Hurts.
Yep, he's definitely a great running back and a great young player, but he's a true freshman coming in the door. So can that great secondary of Washington force him into a couple mistakes, steal some possessions?
That was a dangerous little screen out to Zamora. I want you to think about the last 4 drives for Boise State. In the last 4 drives, the Broncos have run 55 plays, had all 4 drives stall out inside the Baylor 10, and they've got a grand total of 6 points to show for it.
Which is why I'm kicking the field goal on the last possession. Yeah. I just want to change the momentum. I want to get points. And now you come out with a terrific drive that ended with no points. The momentum is still on Baylor's side.
Take a guess who Zach Smith threw the ball to there.
Is anybody else driving anybody else crazy? I mean, you're 20 yards off. You're looking right now. You're 12. You got a 12-yard cushion to the top of the screen. Yeah, that's really easy. I mean, that's pretty simple.
Joey, at some point, David, don't you have to come up, and I know you're worried about getting beaten over the top, but don't you have to make them do it?
I like what David mentioned earlier, and you try to defend it with your outside linebacker or your defensive end to stop that throw, to stop the quick throw. I'm fine with leaving your cornerback. It's been big plays that have hurt him. It's been the throws downfield that has hurt this Boise State defense. So when they make that throw, you must make a play on it.
Aaron Lee made that tackle. Zamora hit immediately, but spun away and did a really good job. Tyler Horton made contact and had a chance perhaps to stop him short of the first down, but a good spin move from Zamora.
That's a great second effort. I mean, he was stopped 100%, used his big, strong body.
The deep ball is coming, Reese. You know it's coming. They're not going to do this all the way down the field, so when it comes, you have to make a play.
Got Smith, plenty of time, great protection up front. Now he's rolling to the side, and he's finally knocked down. Ben Weaver makes the stop. I'm not sure that Smith could have thrown that ball. Obviously could have, but I'm not sure it would have been legal. It almost looked as if he crossed the line of scrimmage and then went back.
I thought so too, and it looked like he ran for 25 yards to gain 1. Just get upfield and get a couple positive yards and get down. Scrambling is not his forte. We saw playing earlier in the game where he stayed alive and then completed a ball, but he's not going to scramble and kill you. Just get as much positive yards as possible.
Tough running on the inside from Terrence Williams. Williams has been reliable now. 12 carries, 47 yards, just shade under 4 yards per carry. And it's about what Terrence gets there to convert on third down. This feels like, especially after the stop on fourth down, a drive where the Bronco defense needs to get a stop. Instead, they get another completion to the outside and right at midfield, and it's Cannon making the grab again.
If you can be successful like that on first down, it sets up second and third down to do whatever you want. You only need to get 2 yards, so it opens up your playbook.
K.D. Cannon now with 210 yards receiving. What a performance from him. You know, he enjoys playing in bowl games. As a true freshman, he had a huge game against Michigan State. He had 8 catches for 197 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Now, at least in terms of yards, that ranks as his second best bowl performance.
See the coverage up tight on K.D. Cannon right now. Let's see what happens.
Now they're bailing.
That's fine, though. Show him a different look. You got a true freshman quarterback. You have to show him different looks, and you have to blitz, too. Zach Smith struggles against pressure. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in college football when you can pressure the quarterback. So you have to bring some blitzes. You have to take some chances and keep him off balance.
Define what you mean by that when you say he's one of the worst.
When he's getting pressure, his completion percentage is like 40%. That means it's one of the worst in college football. Drops significantly.
There is a little pressure. Picked up nicely from Terrence Williams, but then Smith trying to scramble forward, picked up a few, got inside the 45 to the 44 to bring up a third down before Blake Whitlock stopped it.
Freshmen don't know their answers. They know where they're going with the ball first, and in this offense, it's predetermined a lot of times where you're going with the football. But once that first option gets taken away, you see freshmen's eyes a lot of times go down, and he does that a lot and struggles to go to other receivers, but you can't let him scramble. He's done that tonight several times, but heat him up a little bit, bring some pressure.
Boise State defensive coordinator Andy Avalos told us this week that he wanted to be sophisticated enough to confuse Smith, but simple enough to execute.
Substitution infraction, 12 in the formation for the defense. It's a 5-yard penalty. They're down.
That'll get you.
A mistake that turns third and medium to third and short. So that moves the ball inside the 40. Baylor needs to get a yard. Keep this drive going. Although, it was Grove's last game, maybe they have 2 chances to do it. Only need 1. Williams surging ahead, picking up the first down.
It's tough to stop a 1-yard run with 3 defensive linemen in the game. It's going to be tough to do it if they're just going to play 3 defensive linemen. I agree with David. You got to start bringing the heat.
There's another flag down.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 68 of the offense. It's a 15-yard penalty. The downward count will be 1st and 10.
That's so hard to swallow as a coach when you're doing what you want and you're having so much success, and now you're going to get yourself at 1st and 25. This is Boise's chance right here. This is a great opportunity now. you can play a little bit more conservative. That's what you want to do, and you got to do everything you can right here just to get a punt, get the ball back, and try to get some points on the board.
Not sure if Ismail Wilson did something or said something, but whatever it was, it moves the chains back, and David, they have moved the markers back too, so they lost the yardage, but it's still a 1st and 10.
Still helps them, obviously, backing them up.
For sure. Moved it back into their own territory, but
okay, now Boise he just read their mail. Zach Smith just read their mail. Boise has to, there you go. Boise changes their defense and adjusts.
fake to Williams, pulled it out, throws it into the middle, throws a strike. It's complete inside the 30-yard line, and Baylor continues to keep it moving. It was Pooh Strickland, the redshirt freshman, who's questionable coming into this game with a leg injury, but Pooh makes another catch.
How about that pass, though? Talk about getting pressured, resetting your feet, and throwing a strike. That was a heck of a throw by Smith.
Picked up 22. Now Platt has it along the sideline before he's shoved out of bounds, and now the Broncos are reeling on defense.
I mean, this is awesome right here. True freshman. Look at him pump right, gets pressure, throws across his body. That's big time.
Smith to the outside. Cannon's got a little help out there, but it closes quickly, and not much running room this time as Raymond Ford was there for the Broncos.
It's another third down for this Boise State defense, and it's a 3rd and short. And they've struggled with this 3-4 defense to stop these 1-yard runs by Baylor. Let's see if they do it again.
Williams cuts it back nicely. They got a little penetration on the right side, but Williams made a nifty move, and it'll be another 1st down for Baylor.
And that's the great thing about this offense, Joey, is they don't give you time to substitute. They're not substituting, so you can't substitute.
Well, you had a
on
penalty.
3rd short.
You had a penalty.
No, on that 3rd and short.
Yeah, but my point is this. It's been a struggle all night. And you said, let's bring the heat. Yeah. Let's go to a 4-3 defense, at least to get our defensive linemen in the game to stop these 3rd and 1s. They haven't stopped one yet, haven't even come close.
Links Hawthorne in the backfield, and he gets the handoff. Links a wide receiver by Crave. They move him around a little bit, give him the ball. Not much doing that time as he lost a yard.
That time they brought Miles off the edge.
This time under center and a little pop, and then tight end can't hold on to it. That's big Sam Tecklenburg. That's 3 catches and a touchdown on the year, but he couldn't hold on to that when McCaskill's giving a little heat.
Just had a reach of the big fella. He's a blocker, make no mistake about it, but
I was going to be real interested to see if the big fella caught that ball.
Oh, he had it. He's a beast.
The matchup between him and a corner to get into the end zone.
3rd and 10. Now there's less space on the field. This helps you.
Smith firing, and just off the hands of KD Cannon. Ford on the coverage.
What a throw. It was incomplete, but what a throw from the pocket. Feet set, on time, on the money.
And it's easier on defense when you don't have as much ground to cover and you know the end zone's back there to cover. It's great coverage.
You can't throw any better than that.
We've been beating him up all night in the back end, but that was a heck of a job by Raymond Ford getting a stop.
Chris Callahan going to try to tack a field goal on for Baylor. It's a 34-yard attempt. Callahan's boot is on the way, and it is true. And there is a flag. Flag flew in there, so let's
stop the music.
Let's hold on to the music. Recue the music.
We didn't get another roughing the kicker, did we?
Fellas, that was
don't make me go down there.
Joey's going to erupt.
That was your basic 20-play drive. It started at the 5.
The field goal is good. After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 64. The penalty being on the kickoff. Timeout.
That one coming from Dom D'Souza. 2nd time tonight. Baylor's going to kick off from the 20, much to the dismay of Jim Grove.
Six Cactus Bowl, brought to you by the Quicksilver Card from Capital One. Earn unlimited 1.5% cash back every purchase, everywhere.
You see some of the Baylor players visiting with folks, serving some meals during their time here in Phoenix at the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. And the Bears have come to play. They just finished off a 21-play drive It ended in a field goal. Their last 2 scoring drives covered 36 plays. This has been unusual for these 2 teams, the way they've controlled the ball and chewed the clock. Second time tonight that Bears wind up with a penalty that results in them kicking off from the 20. So Boise State, 3:18 to go in the third quarter, down by 18. Need to get busy. Cedric Wilson. And Wilson, I'm not so sure he didn't get taken out by his own man, but he gets it back up to the 30-yard line. Broncos have yet to find the end zone. They'll try to put together a drive when you come back.
Fake play, they're going to score! Ian Johnson, and the Broncos have won the Fiesta Bowl!
Andy Dalton in the shotgun, back to throw. It is intercepted by Venable. That'll seal it for the Broncos.
Solomon can't get tackled in the field of play, and he does! More Boise State magic at the Vizio Fiesta Bowl.
Those 3 Boise State victories in the Fiesta Bowl, all products of some desert magic. Boise State has played 3 bowl games in the state of Arizona. The previous ones all in the Fiesta Bowl. They are 3-0. Those memorable victories, including the one against Oklahoma 10 years ago when the Broncos arrived. And candidly, they could use a little desert magic right now because Baylor is running the show. Thomas Spurbeck with the short catch picks up about 5 out to the 36. Spurbeck's hobbling a little bit in his final game as a Bronco.
Have to drag him off the field, though, probably.
No question. He has been a tough and talented competitor, one of the best ones in a long line of good receivers that Chris Peterson and now Brian Harsin has had at Boise State. Now here come the flags again as we...
That's Reed, I think, number 9.
Yep.
I mean, what a stupid play. He came all the way. He ran 20 yards to come push a guy. Now, it's good acting.
Yeah. You have Trayvon Blanchard.
But still, it's just stupid in front of the official.
He's in the middle of that, too.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 9 of the defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down. It's number 9's first unsportsmanlike foul of the game.
Now, this is the kind of thing that's been frustrating this year for Baylor. Just some things that aren't smart football. And there's the tackle.
Heck of a job by Young and that D-line all night. They've dominated up front.
Yeah, that was not the
personal foul.
No, that was not the unsportsmanlike
And that was set up
conduct.
a third down and a chance for the defense to get off the field. And now you've given up a first down to Boise State.
Now, Baylor just picked up its 4th unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. They are in control of this game late in the third quarter. That is the last thing you want to do, is to do anything to give the other team a spark. Ripping, firing, Spurbeck's out there, and they can't quite connect. And that happened because Trayvon Blanchard gave Rippin one right in the breadbasket.
Man, that was perfect timing. You got man coverage on the outside. Take a shot with your playmaker. Just outside the fingertips.
And Baylor hasn't blitzed much tonight. They haven't had to. They've done a really nice job of, playing nice up from their front 4, and they finally blitzed. Boise had their chance, and they just missed it.
Been that kind of night for the Broncos. Rippin, see if he can get them going. Finds his tight end over the middle, Jake Rowe, with a first down. Moving the ball really hasn't been the problem for Boise State. Finishing the drive, on the other hand, has been a huge problem. Rippin. Short gain. Again, looking for the big fellas. It's the tight ends. That one was Chase Blakely making the catch.
And if you're Baylor,
right on the stop.
If you're Baylor, you'll give up the 3-yard pass all night long. They've done a really good job. Dave, you mentioned earlier that this Boise State offense wants to run the ball, play action pass, go down deep, go for the deep ball, the big play. And Baylor's defense done a terrific job of not giving up that big play and forcing Rippin to throw underneath for the shorter passes.
Baylor substituting their entire defensive front. Rippin is looking at a 2nd and 8. And he runs runs out of time. He thought he had some time, but K.J. Smith showed up and swallowed up Rippon.
He's a beast. He's one of the best players along the defensive front. He's the best player on this Baylor D. And you watch him come off the left side. Look at that swim move over top. Splits another guy. Relentless, plays hard. Good against the run, good against the pass. He's the best player on that Baylor defense.
Final minute of the third quarter. Now is 3rd down and 16.
Rippon had to be thinking they're rushing 3. There's no way they're getting there this fast.
Well, they had him picked up, and then he got away. McNichols underneath. They get 6 of the 16 they needed, so now they're looking at a 4th down and 10. Probably out of field goal range. Rouse's longest this year is 46. This would be 52, and you're not going to kick the field goal when you're deep in the red zone earlier, as Galloway wanted them to. Certainly from 35, you're going to take your chances, hence the previous play call. We'll see what Harsin and offensive coordinator Zach Hill can figure out for 3rd down, as the final seconds are ticking off here in the 3rd quarter, so we'll have a little more time to think about it between quarters. And hey, look, with all the magic Boise State has had in the desert, you don't want to count them out, but this feels like the play they need to make if they want to stay in this game. 4th quarter coming from the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. We're about to start at the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, part of Capital One Bowl Mania, downtown Phoenix. Skating around the Christmas tree, all types of activities. Come to the desert, will be chilly at night. As it turns out, chilly enough to keep the ice frozen. Some triple sow-cows.
I did not come to Phoenix to see ice, Reese. Where is the sun?
We had sun today. It was a beautiful day today. It's a little chilly at night. This is 4th down and 10 as we start the 4th quarter. Boise State trailing 24-6. Brett Rippon stands in, fires a strike. He's got the 1st down. Chaz Anderson on the catch.
David, I've never understood why you defenders cover space in your zone. Like, I mean, Baylor had guys back there, and they just don't cover the guy. There's only a couple of receivers out there.
Guys.
Okay, we have another flag down here, guys. So let's see what this is about.
There is no foul on the play. The result is a 1st down, Boise State.
I know, explain that to me. I mean, turn around and cover the curl.
Yeah, I get it, but you obviously have a lot of guys out in a route, and you're trying to cover the area and read the quarterback's eyes and break on the ball and make a play. Make him throw the ball in the tight windows. It's obviously something that Rippon struggled tonight on. He's had several turnovers, so it's easy to read when you play man coverage, man. It's easy. So the guy, he's covered, they're open.
Rippon. Oh, he had a chance with Spurback to have a nice pickup. It didn't connect.
And here's a zone. They're rushing 3. You got 8 in coverage. See what I mean? Like, there is a curl, and you have 4 guys around. One of the linebackers turn around, look up the curl, and cover it.
That should have been Edwards right there. You saw number 20. When the quarterback looks away in zone coverage, you should be shifting over with his eyes, and that would have moved him closer, but it was a heck of a throw by Rippon.
Yeah, great throw.
There's Rippon, and McNichols is greeted in the backfield, and Baylor just hasn't let Jeremy McNichols get started all night. Graylin Arnold's had an outstanding game. The freshman has played well from his cornerback spot, both in coverage and in run support.
I don't know if I've ever said this about Baylor's defense, but if you're Matt Rule, you're pretty excited about the way this defense has played tonight. With the excitement, they've had their penalties and there's been some issues, but the excitement level on the defensive side of this Baylor team has been really good tonight.
That's the 4th time tonight that McNichols has been tackled behind the line of scrimmage. Plenty of time for Rippon. Now he's going to scramble, and Rippon gets inside the 20. Ball comes loose. Baylor picked it up. Haven't heard a whistle, and Orion Stewart has it. Orion Stewart finally upended just across the 25. And Orion Stewart had an interception in the end zone, had a tackle late on the drive from Boise State, and now comes up with a loose football. It's the 3rd turnover of the night for Boise State.
I thought he was close to being down, but it was definitely no.
That thing's coming loose.
What a great rip.
Man, great play.
Great hustle, first of all, to get down the field, and then the awareness to rip that thing out. Watch him.
I think it's Greg Roberts that got it, David. There he is, number 52, coming in
That's awesome.
Terrific play.
Was any part of him down? Elbow there? Other leg?
It looked like the ball was already moving.
Yeah,
and
I
if
think
it's
so
moving,
too.
it doesn't matter at that point.
And by the time his shin made contact, I don't know if the ball was moving as well. So another turnover, and
there you go. Baylor D talking about Joe. I mean, that's 3 forced turnovers.
They came into this game -7 on the season in turnovers, same as Boise State. Tonight, Baylor has been +2, and that's been the story of the game. That's been the biggest difference.
I've been as hard on Big 12 defense and Baylor playing no defense as anybody. And David, you mentioned it when we were talking to Matt Rule about nobody plays defense in the Big 12. But this is a big feather in the cap of Baylor's defense, shutting down a Boise State offense. Reese, you mentioned it. They're able to move the ball, but they haven't been able to finish. And that's really what matters. When you're playing defense, it doesn't matter how many yards you give up. You'll look at the scoreboard and say, we've held this team to 6 points so far in this game and created some turnovers.
But isn't that the object in the Big 12 with the way the offenses are?
Red zone.
You're not going to be able to stop those types of offenses from gaining yardage. But you have to make stops in the red zone, and Baylor has done that beautifully tonight behind their defensive coordinator, Phil Bennett.
And I think people take offense to that. The Big 12, you always rag on the defense, There's not a defense in the top 50 in the country. So it is different. You don't look at it as yards. You look at it as when you get in the red, make them kick 3. And there's tons of run-pass options. And honestly, there's also really good quarterback play and really good offenses in the Big 12, which only compounds it and makes it even harder.
And players shaken up for Boise State was their 5th-year senior defensive lineman, Elliott Hoyt, the Englishman, walking off under his own power. Sort of came to football late. Sort of fell in love with it as a youngster growing up in England and has had a solid career for the Broncos. Now 2nd down and 7. Smith, quick throw. Catch from Cannon, and he's hit immediately. Forward progress will get him up to the 50.
Yeah, now go fast, get back on the ball. We got a 3rd one.
Yeah, but you said hit immediately. That hasn't happened much tonight on throws out wide.
And again, the 3-4 will now try to stop a 3rd and 1 run by the Baylor off, and they haven't been close all night. This is as close as they've come, and it's still a 1st down.
Another 1st down to update KD Cannon, who's had a sensational night, and I've got a sneaking suspicion as well on his way to being the MVP of the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. 13 catches, 216 yards, couple of touchdowns. Here's Terrence Williams spinning inside the 45-yard line as the clock winds down toward 12 minutes as Baylor tries to finish things off here. That is a Motel 6 Cactus Bowl record, the yardage. And Williams finds a gaping hole in the middle, and he gets down to the 29. Another 1st down for the Bears, and they're starting to put their foot on the throats of Boise State.
And we talked about it earlier, Shock Linwood not playing this ball game. Terrence Williams showing you why it really doesn't matter.
As Williams saw Jermichael Hasty also come into the game earlier and score a touchdown. And Shock Linwood, and we've been rough on him, but not unfairly in my judgment. He had some issues during this season, but that's not to take away from the fact that he had a terrific career for Baylor. Their all-time leading rusher with more than 4,200 yards. And there is Hasty returning, but Linwood opting not to play in this game as some other running backs across the country have. And Hasty stopped by Darren Lee.
I haven't called his name much tonight. He's a really good football player.
Yeah, he is.
They've needed more plays from him and this whole defense.
Well, the defense of Boise State really been hit by injuries, particularly to the linebacking core, with Tanner Vallejo opting to have wrist surgery late in the year. He was popping his wrist back in place to try to continue to play. After a while, that became unworkable. Joe Martirano, who's a Chicago Cubs farmhand who's been concentrating on football, and also injured and out for the season. Another catch from Cannon. But the one thing, Boise State's had depth at linebacker. So you've had guys like Darren Lee and Ben Weaver and Blake Whitlock who've played really well. And they haven't been able to slow down Baylor effectively tonight. Hasty is patient as he gets inside the 15.
Yep, great patience. Hiding behind the line, not getting too
guys, this
excited
is
and sticking up in there.
Baylor had a 21-play drive for a field goal earlier. This is about to be the 12th snap of this drive. We've had 1 3-and-out for both teams tonight. It was the first possession of the game for Boise State. Smith firing. This smells Zamora. Did he get any? He did, and that might be all she wrote. And flag's coming because he spiked the ball. I'm just coming to the point where I'm starting to wonder if it's just a strategy that Baylor prefers to kick off from the 20.
Because it gets them closer to the red zone where they can give up less yards, but then just get that turnover in the red zone or that stop. But
yeah, he's not going to feel great if he gets stopped short of the goal line, so let's have another look.
Hey, Joey, if I said
touchdown
off coverage again from Boise State, what you would say?
Well, I can't figure out the off coverage with the 3 guys rushing the quarterback. Like, something has to give here eventually. And Reese, you mentioned there's been some injuries. I get it. Jabril Frazier is out, the other defensive end. But you have to do something different.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 8 of the offense. That penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
I laugh, but
it doesn't matter.
It's
but
crazy. What is that? The 5th unsportsmanlike conduct penalty to 9 on Baylor. I would have a sneaking suspicion that will be something that is handled differently
with a new
Matt Rule administration. That's not to cast aspersions at Jim Grove, who is
doing the best
we know one of the fine gentlemen in the business. But there's been a lot of emotion from Baylor this year, and they are well on their way to snapping their 6-game losing streak. They are putting it on Boise State 31-6. The Bowl Challenge Cup brought to you by Progressive and the ACC, off to a quick 3-0 start. Conferences, I don't know that it's always the greatest way to measure conference strength, but it certainly gives you bragging rights. ACC and the Sun Belt both playing well. The bulk of the Big Ten and the SEC games are still ahead.
So it's apparent that the ACC and the Sun Belt are the best 2 conferences in college football.
So far in the bowl season, they have been. Big 12 is about to be 1-0 with victory that will,
with 6 points given up,
almost certainly will be Baylor's. 10 minutes and 3 seconds, barring miracle in the desert, the likes of which even Boise State hasn't seen. Baylor kicking off again from the 20-yard line after the unsportsmanlike conduct. Their penalty, the 5th of the 9. Cedric Wilson returns it out close to the 40-yard line as we check in with Molly McGrath.
Reese, after every single Baylor drive, injured quarterback Seth Russell pulls aside freshman Zach Smith. He's giving him corrections, mostly telling him to stay patient and not force any balls. But he was really happy with that last drive. So Russell very active in this game, even though he is not on the field.
Well, he felt for Seth Russell, who was having a terrific 2015 when he suffered the neck injury and ended his season. And
I mean, he was crushing it.
Yeah. And then this year he was solid, showing great leadership, and he fractured a leg, and he's missed the remainder of the season, sort of threw Zach Smith into the fire. But you've seen some real progress from Smith for getting a little time off. Russell, by the way, is going to be able to start walking in a boot tomorrow. Rippon hit as he throws, and Spurbeck has it come out of his hand. There's
Russell.
There's Russell, who was called on in the aftermath of Art Briles' dismissal to rally this team around him, try to provide some leadership. And Baylor, with Jim Grove and the remaining staff, they were able to hold it together for the first half of the season. But then the loss to Texas, a debacle against TCU. They got beat by 1,000. A 6-game losing streak, but boy, they are taking their frustrations out on the Broncos. Tyrone Hunt comes in and sacks Rippon.
They had a drop ball in the first play, and now a sack of the quarterback. Boise State appears to be tapping out and trying to see how quickly we can get this last 9 minutes and 30 seconds off the clock.
It is going to bring a close to Jim Grove's career, his 1-year career at Baylor, and likely his career as a college football coach, which has been a very good one. Jim is going to win a bowl game for fourth time in his career. He was 3-2 in bowl games at Wake Forest and about to win one here at Baylor. Did a terrific job. Got Wake Forest. Well, I was going to say in his career, he got Wake Forest into a BCS bowl, which has been unthinkable in the past, and got a little sideways after a while in Winston-Salem. And Grant Taft called on his friend, longtime member of the Ethics Committee, American Football Coaches Association, to come in a very difficult situation. And you know, it's you do this for a living, you're not rooting for anybody, but it is nice after what Grove has been through this year and the kind of gentleman that he is, to see him 8 minutes and 32 seconds away from closing out this chapter with a victory. A lot to smile about tonight for Jim.
The Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, brought to you by Motel 6. We'll leave the light on for you.
Boise State spending some time in the community this week. Several of their players were either redshirting or injured. Making the trip to serve meals over Christmas. You saw number 8, Jabril Frazier, who's a good young pass rusher for the Broncos, unable to play in this game. He has a variety of injuries. He'll be tended to in the offseason. Brian Harsin, this is not the way he wanted to see a campaign that came so close to New Year's Six consideration and just short of an opportunity to play for the Mountain West Conference Championship. But Boise State about to see a 5-game winning streak against Power 5 opponents come to an end. And Zamora, who just scored the touchdown, gets a little shuffle pass and got nothing on it around the end as we wind down toward 8 minutes to play here in Phoenix.
About time to slow the tempo down, bleed the clock.
Well, we spent a good portion of the second quarter talking to new Baylor head coach Matt Rule, who's watching from the stands tonight. That was the first time in 19 years that he and his wife Julie had watched a football game in person together. Obviously, occasionally watching at home on television, but different kind of thing. But as soon as this game comes to a close, and I mean, Matt's already taken over, working recruiting, that type of thing, but in terms of being in charge and taking over for Jim Grove, what do you expect in the short term and long term from the Matt Rule hire at Baylor?
I think success is, I think he's going to be successful. And I think you have a lot of guys that have a lot of experience. Either the offensive line, they're only going to lose one guy. Defensive line, they're going to have, I mean, everywhere there's going to be a ton of experience. Now, there's not a lot of depth. I think you've seen from tonight so far that quarterback play, Zach Smith, this is encouraging to see his development from the last part of the season to the bowl game now has been really good. I think he'll be in, I think they could be an 8-win Baylor team next year. And I know that might not be happy for some Baylor fans that have had it really good for a long time, but this is a job that is tough because of this last class that took a big hit and the scholarship limitations and how fast he can recruit. I think he's an exceptional coach. And the difference is, I think he's a great coach. It's just hard to say how good he can do right away.
And to clarify that limitations, what you mean is not being up to the maximum allowed right now because of the number of players who chose not to come to Baylor after Art Briles' dismissal. It remains to be seen how many they signed this year. Only one player committed at the moment at the punt, Cedric Wilson, back inside his 20. That was a boomer. Around here, the ball travels in this air very well, and it traveled beautifully. Wilson fielded it over his shoulder. It was a 60-yard punt, and Boise State will take over at its 19-yard line. New Year's 6 with a Capital One Orange Bowl. Number 6, Michigan. Number 11, Florida State from Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. It's also streaming live on the ESPN app. And watch ESPN. You have Jabril Peppers, the versatile one, and then Dalvin Cook, who's had a sensational season, but largely because of some of Florida State's early losses, maybe didn't get quite the attention.
Unbelievable. The biggest snub ever. I mean, he should have been at the Heisman. I would have put him there in a heartbeat.
When you You say should have at the expense of, at the expense of whom? Because part of it is still.
I could tell you that right
okay,
away.
But
I'm trying to be respectful.
They were both on the screen.
Yeah. Okay.
One of them should have been there.
Okay. I hear. Point well taken. Point well taken. But really, that was a two-man race anyway. The Heisman Trophy. But because of the rules, they always take 3, and then how close 4 and 5 are in the voting determines how many they took. And
I love that they took 5. I think they should take 5 every year. I know it has to be
a mathematical thing.
I know,
every
but
year. Yeah.
Change the math and honor 5 kids every year. I know you're Mr. Heisman and you do all that stuff every year, but 5 trips to New York for 5 kids and their families is not a bad thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I don't disagree with you, but you gotta have some type of methodology, I think. 3rd down and 16.
I feel like we could make a show out of that called Heismanology or something.
Joe Tessitore has that one covered. Rippon throwing short. And a rough night for Brett. Tough night for Boise State in general. This is not what the Broncos are accustomed to, and they'll finish their season on a 2-game losing streak after losing the regular season finale in frustrating fashion against Air Force.
Can't say enough about Baylor's defense. Tyrone Hunt gets a sack on the 2nd down, put him in the 3rd long, and they've been able to get to the quarterback with 3 down linemen rushing the quarterback and not give up the big play. This is an outstanding night for Baylor's defense.
Sean Whale just wanted to let it roll. Able to field it on the hop, and that is Tony Nicholson, who has a solid return. 5:59 to go. There's a flag down on the field.
Why do we stop that? Why don't we just keep going to commercial? Nobody cares about a flag when it's 31-6.
Sure we do.
We do?
Need to hear from Mike Roach.
Go to commercial.
Tripping, number 37, the receiving team. 15-yard penalty to enforce from the end of the run. Timeout.
Roll the music.
Just another 15.
When you come back, it's going to be another 15 yards added on. So we'll see you in a few.
5 unsportsmanlike conducts and the rarely seen tripping penalty now. Fourth down pass, and we said, hey man, you got to catch that ball. He caught pretty much all the rest of them. Our Capital One player of the game is KD Cannon. What a performance. 14 catches, 226 yards, couple of scores, big plays all over the place. And this one was on 3rd and 25.
That was awesome. Alley-oop, but big plays. No answer. No double team. No press coverage.
They went back to him early, too. As soon as he dropped the ball, next series, come back, get the ball back in your playmaker's hands. Let him forget about the drop. A receiver always wants the ball back after a drop to get his mind right and get back into the game. Baylor did that with KD Cannon, and he responded.
You know that from all your drops?
My one? Yeah, that one time I dropped one, yeah. They came back to me.
KD Cannon has been sensational. He came in to the game needing 11 yards for a 1,000-yard season. He took care of that in very short order, and instead is going to have a 1,200-yard receiving season. Jim Grove mentioned this week that Cannon's still maturing as a player. Well, I'll tell you what, he looked the part of a near finished product tonight. Pick up a 3 from Terrence Williams as we head toward the 5.5-minute mark here to play. Last time Boise State did not score a touchdown, it was opening day of 2013, first game at renovated Husky Stadium when Washington handed Boise State and Chris Peterson his worst loss as Boise State head coach, 38-6, and of course Peterson
took off.
Well, he eventually went to Washington and now has his team in the college football playoff. I'm talking to Brian Harsin this week. He obviously greatly influenced by Chris Peterson, the attention to detail, the constant questioning of how to make things work. Brian,
I thought that was interesting what he said to us.
Yeah.
I thought that's where you're going with.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. He didn't shy away from the influence that Peterson has had on him, that whenever you had an idea, you had to be able to tell Pete why and what the quarterback was supposed to do. And Brian said it really helped him as a young offensive coach, not just to dial up exotic plays. He had to be able to answer all the questions before he presented them to Peterson, who laid a great foundation here. And Harsin is a terrific young coach, done a really good job. Smith wanting a little bit more. And excellent coverage from Tyler Horton there. Stops the attempt to Ishmael Zamora.
Is that a deep ball with up 31-6 with 4 minutes and 20 seconds left? We're going deep.
But you know what, though? If I'm a Boise fan, that makes me rip my hair out, because that's probably the first time all night you played man coverage.
They've been a little closer, and I was going to point it out. But,
that was man coverage, zero coverage. Other times it's been zone coverage, play deep the whole time, and get smoked.
Well, I mean, you would think that playing deep would help you slow down the deep ball. It has not tonight. But those are plays they got to make.
Jam a wide receiver and mess up the timing on the line of scrimmage. There's an idea.
Everyone can do that.
It's crazy.
Well, Gallus didn't get the call this time. You see him fall again. Instead, Wilson muffed the punt and falls on it. And they're saying Wilson maintained possession. 4:14 to play in the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. Baylor rolling.
Tonight's game is coming to a close, even though this whole game is wrapping.
New Year's Six Bowls on January 2nd, with New Year's Day falling on a Sunday. Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Western Michigan rowing the boat against number 8 Wisconsin. Then at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, the Rose Bowl game presented by Northwestern Mutual. A couple of teams that turned their seasons around. USC and Big Ten champion Penn State. Then it's the All-State Sugar Bowl. Auburn and Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield and Dede Westbrook, both Heisman Trophy finalists, taking on a good Auburn defense, but that Tiger offense has struggled mightily this season. But they've got former Baylor quarterback Jarrett Stidham coming in next year, and this is the last thing Boise State wanted to see. Their freshman running back Alexander Madison, the guy they're counting on for next year, is slow to get up.
And McNichols is coming back out there now too.
Yeah. Jeremy McNichols, a junior from Long Beach, has announced his intention to make himself eligible for the NFL draft. There's Jeremy going back at number 13, and his heir apparent is Madison, who's making his way to the sideline. McNichols has had a difficult night, nowhere to run, averaging less than 2.5 yards per carry, just 46 yards on 19 carries. And he's also, because 24 straight games with a touchdown. It's the longest streak in 10 years. Certainly the longest active one right now, but nobody wearing a blue hat has scored a touchdown for the Broncos. Inside 4 minutes, Brett Rippon fires complete to Jake Rowe.
Rippon's pass to Rowe.
So now that Boise State has elevated the level of conference in which it plays, and the Mountain West is improving greatly at a pretty solid bowl season. This hasn't been a great performance. Colorado State didn't have a great performance, but we saw Bob Davie earlier tonight. He's doing a great job in New Mexico. They got a bowl win. San Diego State's been very good. Boise State inside its own 30, down 25, still going for it on 4th and 2. But see this play, see if the Broncos can keep the ball, and they cannot. Instead, Rippon takes another big hit on 4th down, and there's that man again, Orion Stewart, laying the lumber, and it'll be a turnover on downs. Boise State has only 15 conference losses since 2000, but more than half of those have come since 2013 as the level of play is elevated in the Mountain West. In this climate of college football right now, the gap between the Power 5 conferences and those on the outside, what do you see from Boise State?
Tonight's performance is really a surprise. It's simply because it's been the offense that has struggled. That's what we've come to know in Boise State as a very talented offense with a lot of trick plays and moving parts and shifting, and we haven't seen much of that tonight. And you see Boise State show up tonight, and the way their season ended against Air Force, losing that game, getting stopped on a goal line stand, and not being able to win, not winning the Mountain West, that conference has just gotten better.
There's Mason Hampton, the starting center, being helped off the field after being hurt on that 4th down play. Mason grew up a Boise State fan. And several of these players who were kids when the Broncos announced themselves on the national stage 10 seasons ago, beating Oklahoma not far from here in the Fiesta Bowl, put Boise State on the map. But Hampton's one of those guys, an Idaho kid who grew up following the Broncos, and redshirt junior. It's all Mountain West honorable mention this season, having a solid year. Broncos went for it on 4th down, now with 3 minutes to go. It'll be, now you just see, I don't think Baylor's going to take their foot off the throttle, but at this point you wonder if Boise State has enough to get them from tacking on a window dressing touchdown. As soon as we're finished here, tune into ESPN3 post-game trophy ceremony presented by Capital One. That's on ESPN3 immediately following the telecast. We're just over 3 minutes away from Sports Center, and Boise State rising up and tackling JaMychal Hasty in the backfield for a loss of a couple. The performance tonight, Joey, wasn't indicative of what we've seen from Boise State, but I think the days with the improvement of the Mountain West and a little bit more stability in that conference after some moving around, the days of them ripping through the league like they did back in the old WAC days when they were rarely challenged, or even the early days when they first made the move to this conference, are, I don't know if they're over. It's still certainly going to be the gold standard one to shoot for, but we've seen the last 2 years failing to make the conference championship game that they have to play at a higher level more consistently than they have in previous years.
And it helps having
2 guys there on their way to the next chapter of their lives for Jim Grove. Jim planning to move back to Georgia, headed back to retirement, and sharing a smile with Kendall Briles, the offensive coordinator. And here's Phil Bennett, the defensive coordinator. Briles in the gray shirt, going to join Lane Kiffin at Florida Atlantic. Well, they haven't talked about it. That report's been out there for several days now.
He got the tape off his fingers finally. He's ready to go to Florida now.
That bothers you. It's the little things sometimes that get to you a little bit.
It'll be interesting to see him with Lane, though, and how that offense looks. And it's interesting, Lane, with all the experience in his background, that's who his OC is going to be. That's very interesting.
Lane, during his time at Alabama, has proven to be very adaptive and very diverse, too. This is what they're doing now. You see the sack from David Moa. What they're doing now at Alabama is nothing like he had done at USC in his time as offensive coordinator or head coach there, or at Tennessee when he was the head coach, and really even when he started the first year at Alabama. He's been able to change the offense every year, and so now you're bringing in the Briles component and perhaps the wide splits of the wide receivers and different things like that.
I mean, you think about the last 3 years going to the playoff with 3 different quarterbacks, and now a true freshman, and looking at the offense and how it's morphed is amazing. It's a QB run game offense, which is crazy to think about with Alabama, but he's done an unreal job. It really earned every bit of the money he's made and earned a second opportunity as a head coach.
And so now he'll be working
another opportunity. Excuse me, not a second opportunity.
Yeah,
third or fourth. Raiders.
Yeah,
Tennessee.
That's true. Raiders.
USC.
Now Florida Atlantic. And after the game, stick around for SportsCenter at Night with Neil Everett. That's also streaming live on the ESPN app, and watch ESPN. Neil will have the complete day. Bowl games. Great game between Army and North Texas early in the day. And we had high hopes for this one, but Baylor has put this one in a hammerlock and not let it up. And we're winding down the final 2 minutes and 13 seconds of this Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. And Jim Grove is going to finish up his tenure here at Baylor with a winning record this season. He's going to move to 4-2 in his career in bowl games, his 20th year as a head coach, being 117, 121-1. But remember, he had rebuilding efforts early in his career, particularly at Wake Forest, where he had great success. I asked Jim this week that after all he'd been through and the discord on the coaching staff and at times with the locker room, there were some unfortunate incidents, to put it mildly. Asked him if, knowing what he knew now, would he take the job again? And always the gentleman, he very graciously said of course he would, because he feels as if he gained 100 more sons by having the opportunity to come in and help. And you see him sharing a hug with freshman quarterback Zach Smith. Zach may be setting Jim up for a bath.
Jim Grove is class personified.
Ripping the Spurbeck. The Baylor getting ready to celebrate, and Boise State hoping maybe they can sneak a touchdown on the board.
Let's get McNichols a touchdown. I mean,
He ain't getting back.
What do we have left?
No, he stayed for an extra.
Now he's getting ready for the draft?
Yes, he needs to get ready. Down this, you need to get ready for the draft now. Before the game, I like that he decided to come out and play for his team, and now you're a cheerleader.
We had
Fournette sitting at home right now looking at the 19 for 46 and saying, see, should have stayed home, got ready for the draft, like McCaffrey and the rest of the guys.
We were going to have a more in-depth conversation about that.
No, but now it makes sense, Reese.
Cedric Wilson gets out of bounds under a minute and a half to go. I don't know if we have time to dive into this as deeply as perhaps we should, but I wish that everyone felt as if they wanted to play their final game, and I totally understand. Given the business aspect, and Cedric Wilson makes the grab. Did he stay in bounds? He did, and Boise State at least is going to have a consolation prize of a touchdown. Cedric Wilson with his 11th touchdown catch of the season. Junior college transfer from Coffeyville Community College. Dad, Cedric Sr., played in the NFL with the Steelers and the Niners. Let's see if Cedric got a foot down. Yes, sir. Got to control the catch to the ground, no question about that. And now maybe just for old time's sake, maybe Boise State will run the Statue of Liberty on one conversion play.
That would be awesome.
They might as well get some work in, right? Also, Alexander Madison, you saw number 22 back in the game. He was helped off earlier, so that was certainly good news for the Broncos on a night that has been painfully short of it for Boise State. Rippon on the roll, on the heat, firing, and is picked off. And now maybe an opportunity for two the other way, but Taylor Young is caught from behind, and Grove appreciating the effort.
Another great defensive play by Baylor. And again, I don't know if I can say it enough. I am surprised. I am surprised that we're talking this much about this Baylor defense against an offense of Boise State that has been impressive all season long. And Baylor has come in and played well. Now, can they build on it? Can they continue this when Matt Rule takes over? Can they build on this defensive performance?
And Matt Rule, if you've watched him at Temple and throughout his coaching career, I mean, his teams are tough, man. I mean, you could tell he's got a great command, a great presence about him. That's why I think he'll be successful. I think he'll be successful in recruiting because of that. And I think he'll be successful at Baylor because of his personality and his grind and style. It'll look a little different. It's not going to be what you're used to.
Right. We've seen Charlie Strong go to the Big 12, and he's a talented defensive coach.
Yep.
Went to the Big 12 and struggled. We'll see if Matt Rule can go to the Big 12 and have a different result. But it's been tough. You mentioned earlier, it is tough to play defense in the Big 12. Nobody does it very well. Offenses are really tough. Charlie Strong couldn't figure it out. Now let's see what Matt Rule does at Baylor. But tonight's defense has given the Baylor fans something to be excited about.
Well, and if you think about it, too, Temple coaches hadn't fared really well at big-time jobs. Adazio kind of struggled a little bit at Boston College. You look at Al Golden, struggled at Miami.
Here we visited with Matt during the second quarter. He has a diverse background, not only as a defensive coach early in his career, but he worked under Tom Coughlin with the Giants as an assistant offensive line coach in 2012. He's coached both sides of the ball. Back-to-back 10-win seasons at Temple. Very difficult thing to do. I mean, think about this. There was a time when Temple was kicked out of a league that doesn't even have football anymore in the Big East because they weren't any good.
Never had a 10-win season before.
Yeah,
and he did back-to-back.
He did it back-to-back, and Al Golden did a nice job there. Dazio did too, but Matt Rule, solid job, and now he'll get his opportunity at Baylor. I think it's difficult sometimes for coaches to transcend natural fit, whether that's geographic or whatever, and because of that, some wondered if Matt Rule would fit. When we asked him about that when he was with us earlier, mentioned building relationships and that people in Texas love football, which he does too. And the onside kick took a couple of good hops, went out of bounds, and that will draw the flag. So I would
free kick out of bounds.
I would think that among the many challenges, one will be rebuilding the roster with all of the defections and the difficulties, recruiting, and sort of bringing Baylor out from underneath this cloud that has enveloped the program with all of the misjudgments and misdeeds in terms of handling all of the sexual assault cases. They need to move past it. It's a difficult thing to do, because certainly for the victims, they aren't able to, but there are a number of young men, none of whom stand accused of anything, who are on the team now. Certainly Matt Rule and the new athletic director, Mac Rhodes, weren't involved in it, so it's now their charge to restore some success for Baylor. And people are getting ice bucket baths. Phil Bennett just got it on the sideline. Now they're sneaking up on Grove. This one's going to feel good, Jim. He's going to like this one.
His last one.
Here's a good one. Isn't it funny?
How did he not see that?
I know, but
the entire sideline move.
He wanted it. That's okay.
He was happy.
Bask in the
he was
moment,
happy to get one.
I hear sometimes the debate that, we should be over this. We should do something else. You still get a chuckle out of it in the right moment. Something like this. This was a cool thing for him, for a team that on that 6-game losing streak, only 2 of the games were decided by fewer than 3 touchdowns. Baylor rarely played well during that skid.
I mean, even it sometimes looked like quit.
Yeah,
you could say.
I was being diplomatic, but you know what? You're right.
TCU game?
The TCU game was awful, and for them to show up and under this setting, with the change coming, and to play this way with this kind of fire and enthusiasm, with this level of execution, I think speaks well for Jim and his ability to keep the staff going, and really his ability to keep the players wanting to do it one more time. Kendall Briles,
never seen as
getting
many,
a bath on his way.
Never seen as many ice baths at the end of a game.
And Baylor gets the victory. They'll finish with a 7-6 record. A 31-12 win in the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. Jim Grove makes his way to meet Brian Harsin in the middle of the field. The final time, in all likelihood, as a head coach in college football. One of the gentlemen of the sport. You'll see Jim and the Bears accept the trophy for winning this bowl game live on ESPN3. That's immediately following our coverage, and Molly McGrath is working her way in position now, and she's got Jim with her right now. Molly?
All right, thank you, Reese. Coach hugging one of his players after a hard-fought win. You willingly took on a big challenge here at Baylor. You said this was the toughest year of your coaching career, but it ended with a Gatorade bath. How meaningful is it after everything to end your time with this group with a win?
Well, the win for me is special, but really, Molly, the win for the team is so much more important. And these guys have been through a lot of adversity. Really no roadmap for what we've been through, and I'm proud of our coaches, proud of our team. This is just a great win for us to finish the season, and I couldn't be prouder of our team and our coaches.
You said that off-field issues really got to your team, especially during that 6-game losing streak. How did you hit a reset button, refocus this group to win this bowl game?
Well, it wasn't easy. We lost our way for a couple games, and then we tried to get it back, weren't very good, and by the end of the season at West Virginia, we really were back to coaching and playing, and I had a feeling that we might be able to play good tonight, but you never know in a bowl game. So I'm just so proud of our players and coaches for what they've been able to accomplish.
Your freshman quarterback, Zach Smith, grew up before our eyes tonight. How promising is that moving forward for this program?
Well, I think it's really good for Baylor football. I don't think there's any question about it. And I know Matt Rule's going to enjoy coaching this kid because he's not only talented, he's a great kid. He's been through a lot, and he just worked his way each week to getting better and better and better. I couldn't be more proud of our team, but really proud of a young quarterback that really matured tonight.
All right, thank you, Coach. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Molly, Jim, thank you very much. An inspired performance from Baylor tonight. They just took Boise State apart. Clutch plays on the defensive end in their red zone, forcing turnovers, and they run away with it behind a virtuoso performance from KD Cannon. That's going to do it for us from Phoenix. Joey Galloway, David Pollack, Molly McGrath, and our entire ESPN crew. I'm Reese Davis saying goodnight. Capital One post-game trophy ceremony coming up on ESPN 3. Right now, let's send you to the studio and Sports Center.